you getting yourself ready for our show?
Everybody, Jigs and Bigs. It's another Tuesday, a brand new show. We have a brand new guest. We got Lance Clark with us. You know, Lance is a guy that likes to fish, and he's very, very, very adamant about that fact. We're going to be talking with him. He works with Reaction Tackle that I'm a huge fan of, and also with some other companies that we're going to dive into as well. But Lance is going to talk to us about river fishing, all kinds of good stuff you don't want to miss out on. Shawn the Fisherman was up in the great state of Maine. Dare I say the greatest of all the New England states. Really, I mean, that's my real impression. But he was up recreating quite a bit and testing out some brand new gear that is, or at least new to him, that we're going to have information on in just the tip. We got Who the Fuck is Joe Brown with us, of course. And apparently there's some big boat woes for Joe. But we'll get all the details about that, guys. It's been a crazy week, insane week with all kinds of crazy weather, like extreme kind of weather happening around the Massachusetts, all over New England, really. So much good stuff that we got to talk about. And bait of the week this week for you, we have position number 3 on our top 5 favorite baits that we've been enjoying throwing lately. Much more good stuff coming up on this week's edition of Jigs and Bigs. We'll see you after this.
Got me. I'm going to try to do this entire show in one beer.
That's what I'm going to try to do. One beer. We're going to try to do this entire show. It's going to be a great show, guys. I've said it, actually, I think, in every single interview that I've recorded just this week, and when it rains, it pours. We have so many guests. So many guests. This week, we've got Lance Clark with us. Lance likes to fish. But we also have, I recorded with Jeremy Siebold, and Jeremy has a really cool TikTok that involves his entire family getting out there and fishing. His wife, both of his kids, and his youngest is actually super, like, we thought Vinny was stoked on fishing. Guys, wait till you hear this interview. It is insane. Gentlemen, how are you? How has your week been?
Exhausted. Just got off the road. Wet. I'm ready to bitch about shit, Bobby.
Moist. I've been a little moist myself today. Today's been very moist.
It's been very moist in the shred house.
I did well staying out of the rain this week.
Yeah. Good for you.
I didn't do any fishing really at all this week.
It's, sometimes you need to. And actually, I had the ability this week to go out pretty much almost every single day, with the exception of being a little bit nervous about some of the pop-up storms that we've been having, which even, I had to risk it for the biscuit Saturday and Sunday. So we'll get into all that stuff. I don't know, man. It's just been freaking wild. How was it out of town, Shawn? Your weather up there?
Friday. Well, we got in Thursday night. Friday was pretty nice out. Calm wind out of the south.
Yep.
Partly cloudy. Really great fishing day. Caught some decent fish.
Nice.
Fishing with a friend. I might as well just get into my week.
Yeah. Why don't you dive in?
Because this is how it topped off. Fished with a friend from high school, and he and I honestly haven't fished together in probably 25 or 26 years. It's been a long time. And he now has a beautiful property up in, I guess, central Maine, on a lake. Just had the house built. We stayed with him last year before the house was built. We brought Nelson's trailer up there and stayed up there for a tournament for a weekend. And this year his house was built, so we were able to crash all the comfort creatures. It was really nice. Nelson still fished a tournament. My buddy Dave and I, again, thanks to him, thanks to Dave. Great job. Host with the most. We had a blast this weekend. Dave and I got to fish quite a bit. He got to try a pedal kayak for the first time. I brought up both of the native Ultimate Propels. We're going to be talking about me putting on that old pair of shoes, because there's a lot to learn. We're going to be talking about that in just a tip. He and I had a blast. He's got a lake with largemouth, smallmouth. Unfortunately, no northerns, but believe me, with the largemouth and smallmouth action, particularly the smallmouth, we had a blast.
Sweet.
Over 2 days. And there was a lot of good food and a lot of good Grampy's cough medicine going around.
Nice.
But Friday's weather, fantastic.
That's awesome.
Cloudy.
It was still pretty hot up there.
Yeah, mid 80s.
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top. And then yesterday things got a little worse. Man, the wind really picked up and it was a little more difficult. The fish weren't as willing to bite. Now, I should also mention Friday night we had a band of storms move across the area just north of us, and it still dropped the pressure and it still dropped the temperature. And even though we didn't get any lightning, thunder, hail, etc., it kind of took the fishing down a notch. And Saturday was a little tougher day. But yeah, I mean, absolute blast for the weekend. Hopefully going to do it again next year. This was great. It was fucking phenomenal. I have no complaints. Nelson did all right in the tournament. Ended up finishing 10th in Angler of the Year for that circuit.
Nice.
And congrats to him. Yeah, he had a hell of a year.
That's all. Hang on. I got to give it up for the people's chorizo. You know what I mean? Got to give it up.
Of course. Other than that, I didn't fish at all this week. It was all prep.
Yeah, prep is like that. And actually, it's funny because this week coming, I got a lot of prep. I've got a wedding coming up on a Monday coming up. Shout out to Keith and Rebecca. Their wedding's coming up. I don't think either one of them listens to the show, but I think some of their family actually does. So I've got a wedding coming up with them, but prep, the big prep, really, because a lot of that stuff, the boxes are all checked. It's just kind of double checking for that. The real prep has to do with
Camp Hookset.
Oh boy, baby. So the shit show's going on next weekend. And here's the thing. Your boy Bobby Roast Beef is celebrating his birthday this week. He turns 46 on Tuesday. Yep.
Woo-hoo.
Old enough, but still young enough to be a dumb asshole sometimes. You know what I mean? And I plan on celebrating as if it were my actual birthday that weekend. I will be making fried mortadella and cheese sandwiches. An Anthony Bourdain recipe that I've been wanting to fuck around with. I picked up some jigglers of my own.
Oh boy.
Which, by the way, dispensary review, just saying. Part of my week this last week, Friday, was just running errands and restocking things and stuff like that. So part of the reason why I didn't get out to fish on Friday, because I had a meeting mid-morning, and then following that, I had an interview to record. And then I had some errands to run in the afternoon, some stuff that I needed to pick up. Both of those errands had to do with the cannabis dispensaries, if I'm being completely straightforward. So I went to my regular haunt to pick up a bunch of items that we had just run out of because we used them all up, and the other spot, there was first time I had ever gone to a Theory Wellness. And went out to, you're right, Nelson. It is possibly going to turn into Hurricane Hookset. It might be a shit show. Who knows? So anyway, I had made an order for some jigglers based on your glowing reviews, Shawn the Fisherman. Glowing, like fireworks type reviews. I'm coughing. Let's turn this into I know you're starting. I want to take the next step because I don't really get into this. I have a lot of innuendo that goes on with this, but I want to talk a little bit about this product and its delivery method for this weekend because there were some things that happened. It was an alternate delivery. Okay. All right.
There was some alternate delivery. Yep. Yes. But you go ahead, please continue.
So my thought was like, I was looking to see if they had the Jiggler's strain that I've heard so much about in another form, in either a tincture or an oil. Because really, I don't utilize flower a whole lot. I mean, I didn't realize that we were going to be talking about weed in the first 15 minutes, but here we are. Hey, guys,
here we are.
Party time.
Party time.
But the thing is that I generally, I realized recently in the last couple of years that flour just freaking wrecks me. It really just does. So I generally don't have a use for flour, but there is one usage of flour that I forget about. I have a device that's called a Dynavap. Have you guys ever heard about this?
I have.
So a Dynavap, what a Dynavap is, if I say the term one hitter, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Of course.
Right. So it's like a small cylindrical type pipe or something like that. And you don't burn the flour particle inside. You don't burn the cannabis and combust it at all. There's a special cap that goes over, and you can use any heat source. This is a vaporizer, but it doesn't utilize its own heat source. So there's no batteries, there's nothing like that. It's really, really primitive, and it's made 100% in the US. And I think it's made in Wisconsin. It's somewhere in the Midwest. What an amazing company, a fantastic company. But this small, light, metallic vape, you can pack it, and then the cap is designed where it's got like this 2-ply of metal that when it heats up to an optimum temperature, the metal bends and makes a clicking sound. So and you can feel it when you hold it. Like you know what it feels like?
What?
A small fish strike on ultralight gear, like dink. Like that's what it feels like. And you're like, all right, cool. Okay, it's done. You can draw a couple of hits from it and you're good to go. In fact, after you've vaped this flour that's in there, you can save it and then cook and, make coconut oil or butter or whatever you want to make edibles with later, because it will still retain. So it's like, it's crazy effective as far as getting every bit out of the flour that you're buying. Like it really is. You can use it and then use it again. A comedian that I saw over the weekend, Pete Davidson, that I saw over the weekend had told a joke about a buddy of his that was, taking rips off of a water pipe and then like exhaling into a soda bottle and saving it for later. And he's like, I didn't know you could do that. I'm thinking, I don't think it works that way. I don't think it does. But who am I? You know what I mean? So anyway. I had gotten, this review about the Jigglers, and all that they had was flour. So this is the first time in history I have ever picked up an eighth at a drive-through.
Excellent.
Like, I'll tell you, like, for medical patients, Theory has a drive-through, and it's beautiful, especially when it's like 93 degrees and you can just keep the AC going in your car. I roll up to the window, I show them both my forms of identification, they pull up my order, bingo, we're on our way. What a time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness. I love America. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service.
Let's fill the people in on where the origin of Jigglers came from.
Yes.
This summer, during my Cape Cod trip, sightseeing around Cape Cod, usually most folks take a day and go up to Provincetown. It's just a wacky town. It's a great place. The food's fantastic. We discovered there's a number of local mom and pop dispensaries there. So I went in, and my brother and I were walking around, and there's a Theory section there. So Theory is not only a dispensary, but they apparently create and sell their own. Yeah, they sell there's what's the term? They're a
proprietary strain.
Yeah, they sell their own strains. So I guess they're, I don't know, not a retailer, whatever the fuck. They sell their strains in mom and pop stores. So they had a number of Theories and Theory products on this one table. And I was just walking through and I'm looking, and one of them says Jigglers, which of course, because I'm 12 years old, that fucking made me laugh.
Yep.
And then it had no description. So I had to call the
bud tender
dispensary technician over and say, please explain what the Jigglers is and does. And she told me, and it's 100% indica, which is my favorite because I generally use with
as
my medical stuff.
Time.
I use it sleepy time, hence the Grampy sleepy time. Smoke whatever we've been called tobacco. And I grabbed some of that, and it is, I think, the cannabis I've been looking for. It's phenomenal. There's no paranoia. You get a couple giggles and you go to sleep.
Yep.
The end. And with me wearing a CPAP, I need to get to sleep. That helps immeasurably.
Yep.
So I grabbed some of that on the Cape, and it got me through that. I loved it. I loved it. I said, this is fantastic. And I've been recommending it to people. So I did bring some up to
you were in Maine.
Alexandria Bay.
Alexandria Bay. That's right.
Yep. Brought some up there. And while Chris and I were in his workshop getting me acquainted with the airbrush, we may have done a little, gay experimentation with the jigglers, and it worked out fantastically. So Chris was also thumbs up, and it's good stuff. So we're not like in any way tied to theory, but they make a hell of a product.
Yeah.
Get your jigglers if you got a theory near you and it's legal in your state. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy. So that was for me. That was a big point for me on Friday. Now, earlier in the week, Monday, I had gotten, my plan was to knock out as much prep as I possibly could on everything for Monday. And I do think I even got out actually for a short bit to fish, and that went nowhere. Monday I wrapped up trivia, came back, and that I went out on Tuesday. And actually I went out relatively early with Chrissy to fish up the shears on Tuesday. Now, in our FTG, you're going to hear a little bit about this right here, but the spot we went to fish has, I would say, if I had to be nice about it, I would say they have one of the most creative parking situations at any launch I've ever seen. You need like an absolute master course in trailer manipulation in order to be able to pull this stuff off. If you arrive a boy, you will leave a man with your trailer. That's that. It's that. I don't understand where the engineering came from. I almost pulled all the way down to see if there was like a turnaround. And no, not unless you're driving into the water.
Correct.
I was like, and I thought better of it, and I used that kind of street to sort of do a little 3-point action so that I could park the right way to load and unload my boat. So we had gone out, and this fishery has a pretty nice wide assortment of species, both largemouth and smallmouth. And I've heard actually from multiple sources that for the multi-species tournament that's ongoing right now, this is an ideal spot to go. Big sunfish, lots of yellow perch, lots of pickerel, all kinds of, what most people would consider to be a nuisance. And actually, I think trout as well. I think the most people actually fish there for trout. So we had gone out, and I had caught a literal militia of bluegill. And again, like I could have probably, I could have increased the bluegill I had on the board, but why? I mean, I guess I should have just thrown them in my NE5 to at least pick up another point. And I keep neglecting that.
You should have, because of the tiebreaker aspect.
Yeah.
You got to think about that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, God, these are, and I will say this, the majority of which were either not making the minimum or were not doing me any justice as far as like moving up any further along the ranks of other bluegill. But apparently I have no difficulty catching bluegill because that's pretty much been it for the most part this week. I had then made plans with her to fish another great multi-species spot that I canceled those plans because the heat this week was so nuts that schools have been doing these half days. And I'm like, I'm not going to go launch my boat to just have to be to be on the water for 45 minutes or so to go, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I decided I'd put it off until later and cross my fingers that we didn't get hammered with storms at the worst possible times, on the later end of the week. So I canceled those plans on Wednesday. Thursday, I just had a bunch of stuff that I had to get done, had some interview stuff to do, some meetings. And Friday, that brought us to Friday with the running the errands. Now, Friday, I did something really, really cool. I had my wife, this was probably back in July. My wife had sent me a message and said, oh my God, I can't believe this. Did you see this show in Springfield that's coming? And it was Jon Stewart, John Mulaney, and Pete Davidson. John, and Pete. And that's how they're billing it. And I said, oh no. And she's like, we got to go. It's like, all right, go ahead, get tickets. We'll do it. It'll be awesome. It'll be so much fun. She said she went and got tickets. Now, what she didn't tell me was that she got third row tickets for this show. Like, okay, I'm noticing a theme here that when she is buying tickets for something, she doesn't like to just mail it in and like, yeah, we're there. You know what I mean? No, she wants the act on stage to know that we're there. And we had gone, and so Friday was the show, and we were expecting some storms to come through in the evening. So for us, it was, you know, they have the parking garage at the Mass Mutual Center completely closed off.
Yep.
So, which is insane to me. So it's on-street parking, and it's trying to figure out the best way to be closest when walking in the rain. So we'd gotten into town kind of early. We wanted to have some drinks and something to eat before we had gone in. We went into Jackalope. And for those of you in the area, in the Springfield area, Jackalope is a restaurant that if you're not going out and enjoying, you are missing out. It was out of this world. We just had, we split one of their pizzas. We had a duck and goat cheese pizza with an order of their calamari, which was out of this world. And I had, what did I have for a cocktail? I had like a spicy margarita. And I only had one margarita, so you know how that goes. My wife had a gin drink that she didn't really like. She was like, she's like, you know, it's a glass of booze with a cucumber in it. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of thought that was right up your alley, to be totally honest. She put it down with no problem, but then she had herself, my wife has started a beer list. Oh, that's right. Thursday, we went out to lunch, and her and we went to Plan B. We saw Rico. It was nice to catch up, and had a couple of beers. And again, she had a half day because of these heat advisories. So, you know, she started at that day on Thursday. She started a beer list. Well, she added another one on Friday to her list, and I'm noticing a theme. They're all like super bitter. Like all double IPAs, you know, a handful of sours, stuff like that. So I'm kind of getting an idea of like the stuff where if I have to pick something out for her, I have a feeling where it's going to go. And so we had, you know, finished up our drinks and our apps over at Jackalope. We got in the truck, and then we looped around the block a bunch around Symphony Hall, specifically looking for a good parking spot. And we did find a great parking spot, a little bit of a hack, and I'm not going to share it on the show because there are that few of those spots, and that secret is mine. So I'm not giving that shit up to anybody. But we found a little hack that worked out really great. We went over to the show. It was awesome. Bumped into some trivia teams, actually. One at Jackalope, and then the same one at the show on the way out, and then I bumped into another trivia team on my way out, so that was fun. We had ourselves a great time. It was awesome. The show was fantastic. Pete Davidson did say along the way, and I thought this was hilarious, and this is fishing related. He goes, "Yeah, I went and I bought some clothes at the old Bass Pro Shops." And what's funny, and I was telling Joe in the pre-production meeting that Pete Davidson walked out on stage wearing a pair of like Carhartt overalls, right, denim ones, with like a Carhartt hoodie underneath. And then a pair of like the 4-inch or 5-inch like extra tough boots, like boat boots. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, that's a little interesting. So I guess he really did go to Bass Pro and pick up some articles of clothing, some fashion, some Bass Pro fashion. And I'm like, all right, okay, whatever it is. And in fact, there was a Q&A after the show where all three of them were out, and somebody had asked like, oh, what are you wearing for sneakers? To Pete, and he was like, no, these aren't sneakers, the little boots. There were the little extra tough boots. I'm like, that's adorable.
That's awesome. Fucking adorable.
Great show, had a great time, came home and jigglers, went to bed. Fantastic. So I had Saturday, I had unfortunately I had an uncle that passed this week. So we had a service to go to for him. So Holly and I had gone out nice and early, and we did that. Then we had breakfast afterwards. We stopped at good old Rusty's in Holyoke, had breakfast, came home, hung out for a little while, and I said, you know what? I had an interview to record that was with Jeremy Siebold, an interview to record in the afternoon, early afternoon. And I said, after that's done, I'm going to take a ride up and see if I can't beat this storm. Because I'm looking at the radar, and Saturday didn't look like it was going to be all that bad up the shears. So I said, I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. Let's send it. So I went up to Stockbridge Bowl is what I did. And there was a big rowing event that was happening over there. And apparently they had canceled it because of lightning. The organizers had said, the event's canceled, but a lot of these people were there on boats and they're just like, we're dropping them in regardless of this because we came all the way up here for this event. So there were all these like super compact rowing vessels. I don't even know, some of them, I don't even know whether to call it a kayak or a canoe or a hybrid or what, but some of these things were crazy. And of course, everybody who's launching their boats or out there is taking note of the Titan 13.5. And they're just like, holy shit, that thing's huge. And I'm like, well, I'm not a little person. I kind of require a large boat.
I have what you might call a bit of a weight problem.
And I'm like, I have full confidence in this boat that it's got the stability and the ability to haul anything that I've got to bring out with me with no real concerns. And it works great. So I went out there with a plan in hand, and I went out, man, I saw so many yellow perch that I needed to get on my board, and I got bit. So I caught so many bluegill, and I had a number of fish that would tap the bait that I was throwing and then shake off at one point or another. I don't know if any of those were yellow perch or rock bass, but I kind of needed them all. Nothing at all. Caught a tiny largemouth while I was out there as well. That bit that presentation. Fooled around a bit as the sun started to really kind of go down to throw some top water just for fun, because I was like, if I'm amongst all these bluegill, let me at least see if we can catch some bass on top water. That would at least be fun. And then the lightning started to roll in across to to the west. I could see over by the mountains some like cloud to ground contact, and I'm like, we're fucking out of here. Not a lot of thunder, but just seeing the flash and looking over and being like, oh shit. So I, put the pedals in motion and headed back over to the launch, loaded everything up, got the boat back on and headed home. Got home, went to bed nice and early. This morning I got up and I had, some errands that I needed to take care of kind of early. And I decided, my wife does this thing where she'll get up before I do to come downstairs and brew a pot of coffee. And then my wife is really into video games. She's a gamer, and she will come down, fire up the old PS5, and then play like Diablo or whatever it is that she's been. I think Diablo's the one that's the flavor of the week. So, she'll go and she'll play that. What do you
gonna have to add your wife on PlayStation?
Yeah.
I'm a very closet gamer.
I hear you. Yeah, she doesn't like to play online because she doesn't like to play with other people. She just likes to kill shit. And I'm like, you have issues.
I love your wife. I'm the same way. I hate talking to people. I hate.
Yep.
But sometimes you got to.
Oh yeah, no. It's like it's a necessary evil. So she likes to do this thing where that's what she'll do. She'll get up early and she won't wake me up. And she'll just sit there and have her coffee and play and, sit there. And I'll have the dog upstairs, Eleanor, and I'm just snoring my ass off. I slept till like 9:30. I get up and I'm like, dude, wake me up. I don't set an alarm during the week because, or I don't set an alarm on the weekends because I don't have anything to wake up, any reason to wake up. I'm like, but if you're up, wake me up. Oh, I just figured I'd let you sleep. Great. So I get up, I'm up, I have some coffee, I drink a big bottle of water, and I think within like 30 or 45 minutes, my wife is passed out on the couch with the little dog. So it's like sleep 2, you know what I mean? And snoring like snoring hard. And there wasn't even an effect there. That was just a natural sound of her that I recorded that you guys are hearing a sample, those that are listening. Worry about yourselves, jigheads. So she likes to take these long, sleep part 2 naps. And I'm just like, why am I sitting here? The girls had gone out to just go and hang out and find something to do. I said, I'm going to go fishing. I still got the boat already hitched up. Everything's ready to go. Let's just go. So I went locally, and I knew it looked like we were supposed to get some storms. And I was just like, I'm going somewhere small. It'll be no big deal. This is where your boy went wrong today. First off, I had gone and this pond I had gone to, I hadn't ever seen this water as dirty as I have where the launch was. Like, this was like It was like chocolate milk. I've never seen it that dirty here. And then I remembered that the storm I went through up to Shears was a fraction of what they got locally over here. Like, they got rain that felt like the rain was being thrown down. Like, it was just crazy. So I'm like, okay, so they got some significant rainfall. All right, no sweat. So I make my way over to the far part of this pond, and I'm looking at the radar and stuff, and I'm keeping an ear to hear of any thunder or anything like that. And I'm over here fishing by the dam, the furthest part away from the launch that there is. And I start hearing thunder, and I'm like, where is it? Let's take a look. And I looked on the radar on my phone, and I could see like there was this pocket that was coming in, and it looked, at least when I saw it, it looked like it was moving quick. So I'm like, maybe it'll kind of skirt us and it won't be too bad. It did not skirt us. So it started to actually get pretty close, and I could hear this thunder, and there was some flashing that I was like, all right, so it's a little bit closer than I thought. So I made the educated guess, instead of just making a run for the launch and getting stuck in it, to go to a spot where the bank kind of like, there's a big drop off there, but there's a little bit of a sandbar that kind of comes off. And I go and I beach the boat there, and I go up onto the bank, and I'm hanging out, and I'm looking at the radar and everything. And then I realize if I zoom out a little bit more, yeah, while this is moving slower than I realized, there's a nice break in between that and like the main chunk of the storm that's moving upward, you know, into our way from the southwest. And I'm like, do I go? What do I do? What do I do? So I look at the percentage of the chance of thunderstorms, and it was at 80 where I was, and then the next 2 hours were at 90%. So I said, now is the time, because I'm not going to hitchhike and get a ride to the launch to haul my freaking boat or to haul my truck around just so I can pull this thing up this cliff and then load it. I'm like, I don't have, ain't
nobody got time for that.
So I decide to take all of my rods, utilize my horizontal rod storage, and pedal as if my ass were on fire. And I pedaled so fast. I was on plane. I was almost on plane. I was moving fast, and I got about 2/3 of the way there, and I was like, oh, this is gonna fucking happen. Like, it had lightened up a little bit, then the dark clouds started rolling in. I'm like, uh-oh. I got the boat to the launch, flash bang boom, dropped the landing gear, and pulled that sucker up on the trailer in one swift move, right up the ramp, right into the trailer. Done. Put my rods in, you know, I was using the tailgate as my cover, you know, for as far as putting my rod sleeves on and all that stuff, packing everything up, making sure everything's done the right way, hit the road, and then holy shit, all hell broke loose. Like, it was just storm of the century. So I was like, I think I made the call. I made the right call, because I would have been sitting there on that bank for a good 2 hours. Honestly, I probably only would have gotten home now, to be totally honest with you. Like, as far as like, if I had to make my way all the way back to my truck, I could have called an Uber, I guess, you know. But by the time I had gotten there and gotten everything loaded, yeah, I think I made the right call. But man, it was dicey. I was like, this could be fucked up. I could be electrocuted, something serious, you know.
That's why if I even see a whiff of any thunderstorms coming near, man, I get off the water or I don't go out there. You know, tournaments be damned. There's well, you know, and I think too much of a risk.
I think the important thing is to have a plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To have some kind of a plan. And that was sort of my plan going on, is that I know that there are multiple spots around here, very few on that end of the pond, where I could get out of the kayak and, you know, seek shelter, get off the water at least. Further closer toward the launch, there's a handful of other spots that would be much, much easier. But again, going back and getting the boat, there's the issue, you know? It's not like I'm going to tie it off and just leave it there. That's exactly. Not happening, you know? Let's be honest. I might actually prefer to get struck by lightning than have to hear about it from our cohorts at TBO. But it was something, man. You know, it really was. So The only fish that I was really able to add as far as new species, I did put a smallmouth on the board for the tournament, which is fantastic. I'll take it. Tiny smallmouth. I measured the first smallie I caught that day. There were other ones that I again, and yeah, you're right. I should have entered them in there just for the tiebreakers. You're 100% right. And then I got on a weird largemouth bite on that Tuesday, but that was really it. That was the best fishing I had this week, was Tuesday in the heat with the dark crystal folks all over the place. But we'll be talking about that in FTG. Oh man, what else? As far as my week fishing, that's it. Like I said, though, it's prep. Now, this will be a good transition. Joe, you're going to Camp Hookset, right?
I'm gonna try to make an appearance. I have some other things on the schedule that it kind of butts up with, but I should be. I won't be able to like stay the weekend, but I should be able to make an appearance.
Nice,
hoping to at least. That's obviously something I do not want to miss.
I'm for sure going to be there on Saturday.
Okay.
It's going to happen. Like, am I going to camp and stick around for the Sunday festivities? A lot of that's going to depend on the weather, like what's going on. I don't really love camping in like crazy heat. And if we have like stupid rain where I can't open the windows, that's gonna kill it for me too. So I'm gonna go equipped and ready to go and party and everything. But I mean, if the conditions are horrible, I will probably be making that trip either once and making it just make it worth it for the day, or twice and come back again on Sunday for everything else. It's only like about an hour and a half away, so it's not terrible, but. Yeah, I think it's actually even closer for you.
Yeah, it's a little bit closer, I believe. Yeah, so we'll see. Obviously, it's something I want to check out. I mean, I fucking love all those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, it conflicts a little bit of scheduling, but I should be able to make it work.
Word on the street is that OG Scuba Steve will not be in appearance. He just, like, this week, I guess, had some car issues, and he's like, dude, that's going to kill my budget. He's like, I'm not going to be able to make it happen. So I'm a little unsure if Cody's going to make it, because I believe they're riding up together. So we'll figure it out. We'll see what the story is. So I'm looking forward to it. I have no idea what the fishing is like. I've asked around some friends of the show, some other Hookset Hoodlum pro staffers. I've asked, what they thought about it. Mixed reviews on that body of water, but regardless of how the fishing is, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So it'll be good shit.
Oh, yeah, it always is with those fucking
and
animals.
I'm really looking forward to going because Dust Off, Brandon's going to be there.
Oh, I didn't. Oh shit.
Yeah.
I might have to just because of that.
Yeah,
I have yet to, we've chatted, but I have yet to.
I've never met him. Yeah, exactly. I've had him on the show and I've spoken to him before, but Dust Off will be there. So that's pretty badass.
The fact that he's a fucking Black Hawk pilot, I kind of turned into a little fangirl.
Oh, totally. Come on. I mean? Did you, I guess he was able, he put a reel up. Did you see he took his wife out?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So they actually do that. So they probably did it when Shawn was in too. They'll do spouse appreciation. They'll do employer appreciation for like those who go 1 week in a month.
Yep.
So this past year they brought them up on a refueler, KC-135, the wives. And they actually brought them on a refueling mission for F-15. So they got to sit in the back of the boom and like watch it happening. So it was, I'm sure, Shawn, I'm sure you had done that in your career at one point, but like.
Is it military story time? Because I have a horrific story about that.
Well, now it is.
No, it's horrific for my own personal well-being. I got to be careful about what I'm saying here, but I want to tell the story. First off, let's answer question number one. Yes, my wife did do the military spouse appreciation flight. She had a blast. So she got to take a day off of work and go up on a C5 and do that. So that was fun. My refueling story. I was working at a base where we did have, a refueler or two. And it wasn't even my shop chief. It was above that. One of the supervisors above my shop chief, one of my section chiefs, I actually had as an instructor at one of the tech schools, and we got along great. And he became, you know, in my chain of command once he got out of the school doing the instructor's job. So one summer, I want to say it was like 2003, he said to me, he goes, "Hey, what are you doing in a couple weeks?" And I said, "On the weekend?" He goes, "Do you have school?" Because he knew I was going to college. And I said, "No." He said, "Do you want to do a trip and play crew chief and help out the crew chiefs with their tasks? Do you want to go to California for a weekend?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've never been to California. That'd be awesome." About a week into that notification that we were going to California, they switched it. It was to a stop in California on the way to Hawaii. Now I had people coming up to me because I had said yes, and no one wanted to go to California. Now I had people come up to me saying, "Hey, dude, $50, case of beer, and let me take your slot." And I'm like, "Fuck you, I'm going to Hawaii."
Fuck yeah, dude.
Well, this was back in the day before I had quit drinking. We got to California. We did our crew chief duties, and then I went to the bar. And of all the things, man, I sit down in the bar. I start talking with one of the guys there. It turns out he's the older brother of a guy I used to play basketball against. I knew in passing, but we knew each other. You know what I mean? I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I meet fucking Chicopee people in the middle of California.
That's how it is.
And it's just so bizarre. So that was neat. We did get to watch. No, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, we went to California. We went to the bar, and of course, the next day I was a little banged up. Now we're on a refueler, so as we get airborne, we had another plane with us. We were doing doing the refueler thing, and one of the crew chiefs had seen this before, and he said, "Hey, Shawn, why don't you go in the back and check out what so and so's doing on the refueling?" So I went back there, and if you've been on a refueler, it's almost like there's a window and a video game controller that you lie down in, and you're controlling the boom to get that thing lined up for the other plane to refuel on, which was great. I got to lie down next I was on the floor. This guy was in the pit. The refueler was in the pit, and I just kind of had my head hanging over on the floor because I was hungover to fuck. And I just kind of was watching. And the next thing you know, we're doing touch and goes on a small island on Hawaii. And I'm in the back of the plane, and the pressurization's different. My head felt like I was being hit with a ball peen hammer repeatedly. All right. 19 touch and goes. I was in hell for 2 hours. It hurt so much. I got off that plane, and the crew chief's like, "You all right?" And I go, "Fucking no, get me to the bar." It hurt so bad. 19. I counted them. Wow. I'm like, when is this going to end? And because each one took like 15 minutes to go around the island, I was dying.
Oh my God, dude.
So, and the best part was the refueler had gotten up at some point and just left because I was just basically passed out, hungover, drunk, whatever you want to call it, just lying there. Oh, it was fucking horrible. Horrible.
God damn.
The one thing about those KC-135s, I don't know there's a new one, the KC-46. I haven't been in that yet, but Shawn could probably remember this. It is so fucking cold inside those things. Like, I've been on countless C-130s, C-5s, C-17s. There's like no temperature control on these things, and literally like my first time going in one of these seasons, I see everyone bringing like blankets and shit. I'm like, what are these fucking guys doing? Oh no. The next couple times I was on one of those bad boys, I was all bundled up. It is cold up there.
I haven't flown on one of those. I've flown on C5, C-130s and the 135s, but not, not those. Yeah.
Damn.
Fun times. Good times. So yeah, if you're wasted, do not go into the back end of a fucking refueler, especially if they're doing touch and goes, because the pressurization sucks and you get fucked up in the head. I'm surprised they didn't just open the door to the back when the plane landed and there was me headless with just blood everywhere. That's what my head felt like.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. I was so stupid.
What is that in the back?
How am I not dead?
What's is that Shawn? What's going on? Every touch and
19 times.
Oh God. So how was your week, Joe? You said you didn't do most of this was prep, huh?
No, this is so. So first thing, I know we had talked. I was talking about possibly going down to the national championship at Lake Hartwell in South Carolina. Well, it's official. I'm registered hotels booked, everything.
Sweet.
So I will be heading down there. Shit, I think it's the 7th of October. I'll get like 3-4 days of pre-fishing in, and then 3-day tourney, 250 boats. Fit was a 60,000 acre lake Hartwell is, so it's a big one. But I've been doing a lot of research. I've been trying to do a lot of research, a lot of reading, mapping, and all that jazz. I did get on the water for a few minutes once. I think it was when was that? It was a couple days ago. I brought Meg out there because I was actually having issues with my live scope, and I wanted to get it out there and try to troubleshoot it. And and the reason being is because after my 2-day, I'd accidentally left something on in my trolling motor system with my trolling motor batteries and fucking drained them all. And with those ionic lithium batteries, if you drain them down, they go into like protection mode. Excuse me. They go into protection mode. And so I had to bring those back up. And and that live scope is on those, is on that system. And after that happened, I cannot get my GPS or my unit to read the live scope. So I'm now thinking it's like I blew a fuse or something. The way I had to get them out of protection mode, I may have like surged it and blew a fuse. I know nothing about that shit. That's just what I've been reading on forums and whatnot. But luckily the boat's going in for routine maintenance tomorrow. I want to get all the fluids and shit changed before I head down to South Carolina. So they were actually the ones that installed the system. So I'll let them fucking figure it out.
Smart.
I'm no expert by any means, but I did make a purchase for the boat recently over the yesterday. So I know we had talked when it comes to live scope. One thing that really cripples you is the fact that if you're deep water fishing, your live scope goes wherever your trolling motor does.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I bought a system. It's called the right height turret. It goes on your trolling motor, but it is completely separate from that. Your live scope goes on that. You have a separate pedal where you can aim your live scope where you want, and it doesn't move with the trolling motor.
That's
when you
sexy.
spot lock.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did make that purchase. The wife doesn't know yet.
She will Tuesday.
So yeah, and a buddy of mine hooked me up with a guy down in Rhode Island who hooks up a lot of his bass boat and everything. So I'm gonna go through him to have it hooked up, because I'll fuck something up if I try to do it myself. But so doing that. Outside of that, it's been a ton of friggin' just trying to study and, prep and see what I want to use and all that shit, and mapping the route I want to take all the way down there, because I'm going by myself. Originally, Meg was talking about coming with me, but it just doesn't. It's just the area. She's like, with work and shit, she's like, you're gonna be fishing the whole time, so it's like it's really no sense in me going. So doing it by myself, it's a 16-hour ride, so I'll do it in increments, so I'm not going to go straight through.
That's smart.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave Saturday, get there sometime Sunday, like Sunday evening, and then I got a few days to pre-fish. The hotel I booked is like 11 minutes from the launch that we're using, so
that's great.
Yeah, we're using the same launch that like the Elite Series uses and stuff. It's a huge launch, so it'll be fun. I'm pumped.
That's awesome, dude. Now, so let's do some pro. I don't have the right sound effects, so Shawn, I'm gonna need you for this. Let's peel back the beef curtain here. It's perfect.
What the fuck is wrong with us?
I know. So the tournament is on the 7th, right?
No, the tournament is the 11th, 12th, and 13th.
11th, 12th, and 13th. Gotcha.
Yep, I'm heading up there the 7th to start pre-fishing.
All right. And what time are you coming back?
I will be coming. I'm gonna hit the road on the 14th.
On the 14th. All right, cool. So the 15th, the recording for that show won't be an issue. That's Sunday night, 8th. You want to do it live on location?
Oh, I could do that.
I think that'll be awesome. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be slick. So we'll have Joe phoning it in live on location. That'll be fun. I like it.
Yeah, it'll be dope.
Speaking of phoning it in, let me just go ahead and say this. So we've been over the last 3 or 4, I think 3 episodes. We've been running a spot about the Jigs and Bigs hotline. How you guys can call in really at any time and leave us a message, and we will get back to you about or we'll not just get back to you, but we'll possibly even use it on the show. I've had, was it both interviews or just one? Just this one with Lance. I believe, or no. It was one of these interviews. I forget which one it is, but you'll hear them where you'll hear the audio sounds different. And it's just because that hotline has come in clutch as a backup for interviewing guests. Having them just call in and do it. It really has. So if you guys are interested in, reaching out or giving a shout out on the show or talking some smack, or if you want to submit an FTG or anything like that, we've actually made it even easier for you on using our hotline. And all you got to do, it's super easy. Just call us at 413-324-8519.
That number again. 413-324-8519.
So yeah, it just reminded me. So as a backup, that's also good. Like if Joe is down at Hartwell and is like, oh shit, the Wi-Fi here is an old Chef Boyardee can with like a bunch of tinfoil in it. What's going on? He can just call and make life that much easier. It'll be fun.
Yeah, this one's gonna be wild, guys. I've never. This place is full of spotted bass. It's not something I've really targeted in the past. So luckily I have some people that have been, helping me out. Like, it's going to be a lot of deep water fishing, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to, be up in the shallows flipping docks and shit.
Oh yeah. No
we'll
shit.
see. We'll see what happens. That's why I took 3 days to pre-fish.
That's smart. That's very, very smart. And then you can also, while you're there, if you lay into a handful of spots that maybe won't help you out necessarily, just keep them in your live well, drive them up, and then dump them in Lashway, because that's the professional move right there.
That's what everybody else does.
Dump them in fucking Lashway. Why the fuck not? Hey, I brought you guys something. Fuck this body of water. You know what I mean? I'm going.
There's good smallies in Lashway.
There are.
Where they came from.
I wonder. Oh,
deepest part is like 8 feet. Yeah, that's what they love.
They love it. It's great. Oh, good Lord. I think that about does it, man, as far as... we do have attorney talk that we have to do right here to keep things up to date as far as the Jigs and Bigs multi-species tournament.
All right. So we got 24 folks in this tournament. 24.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good for September. Thanks for jumping in, folks. Everybody who is in this tournament got an email. I'm going to explain a little bit about this email before I get going on the standings. I made a request to our friends at Fishing Chaos on how this tournament was to be run. And they did the job, and they got a little overzealous with a rule change, and it applied now. So what I did was I offered anyone who had signed up for this tournament under the understanding of the rules being one way, I offered them a refund if they wanted out, because I get it. Like, you can't change the rules 2 days into a tournament or 3 days, whatever. When did I send that email out, Bobby? 3 days into it, for whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, it was before. I think it was before the 4th.
Yeah, I sent it out as soon as I got the notification out, or the next morning, as soon as I had a chance to. So nobody took me up on the offer. So thanks for sticking around, folks. This actually levels the playing field a little bit more and has gone towards what we're going to be doing next year. It's kind of what is this? This is like a step in between the current rules and what we're aiming for next year. And honestly, if anybody, it hurt me the most, because I had a shit ton of lunkers and I lost all my lunker points.
Yep.
Anybody who's in this tournament, I know it's a little too late to register now. We're a couple days past that. We're just going simply scavenger hunt. You catch a fish in a category, it's worth 1 point.
Yep.
And then the tiebreaker will simply be total points. We finish with, or total length. If we finish with 6 people with 10 points at the end of this, we're going off length. So lunkers are still important, but no one's going to be able to win off them, which we've kind of seen in the past. And that kind of goes against the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish here. We want everyone out catching different species of fish. And to go out and catch just the lunkers that you're comfortable with, which some folks do have the option. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. So going forward, all fish, 1 point each, total length, tiebreaker. Because total length, I don't think I've ever seen total length match up anywhere.
Yeah.
You know? And for this tournament, this may be the last tournament we see in any 5. Bobby, you and I and Joe will talk about this, and we'll go from there. But we're probably going to run one in October too. What the hell, right?
Fuck it. Why not? You know?
Fuck it. So we'll talk then. If for October, just a little quick preview. That should be up this week on the 15th. That'll be ready for registration. The rules will be updated, and we'll go from there. Now on to standings. Well, we got 24 people in, and 19 people have turned in fish so far. So I'm just going to go through everybody. What the fuck, right? Why not? First week, everybody gets a shot. Remember, get out there, catch fish. So we got Timmy Bender, Nathan Grant, Chris Mellowship, and Sam Cruz the third. 1 point each, 1 submission. Daniel Thompson by himself, 2 points. Richard Olbris. Then, I'm going to fuck this name up. Dow Lee.
Yep. I think that's right.
I hope I pronounce that right, Dow. Bobby Roast Beef and Binya all have 3 points. Then we get to the top 10. John Hagens, 4 points. Liam Van Valkenburg and Steve Galloway and Ryan Breen, all with 5 points. Cheryl Bentley, Thomas Monahan, Tim Behan, all with 6 points. Sitting by myself in third place, 7 points. And then Nelson, the fucking People's Chorizo.
Yes.
And Chrissy Wadwillowitz, 8 points, sitting on top. Now, looking at the total length, that would put Nelson. Where's my total length? Oh, you piece of shit. Fucking, all right, hold on. It's a math thing. I'm finding it. Total length. Nelson's got 189. Chrissy has 150. So Nelson would win that tiebreaker.
Nelson would win that tiebreaker,
yeah, when it's applied. So we're keeping it simple, people.
Yep.
Catch a fish, get a point. It all adds up. If you get a bluegill like Bobby had today that's bigger than the one he had, just pop it in.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting a bonus lunker. We're good to go. So this is keeping it simple, multi-species scavenger hunt. A lot of fun coming up this October and next year. Same thing. We're just gonna keep rolling it. So
Chrissy's out there throwing fighting words around.
She is.
She is. She means it. She means it. I love it.
Excellent. So yeah, keep it up, folks. We got all of September and all of October. Let's kick some ass.
I love that. I think that's freaking awesome. Got some stuff that I want to talk about, guys, in the third segment. Kind of next year's plan for travel. I have some cool shit that I'm trying to put together, and I'd like your input. Like, if you guys know anything. So we'll talk about that coming up in the third segment. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our info segment of Just the Tip. We have an FTG for you. And in our bait of the week this week, we're in position number 3 of our favorite baits that we've been throwing, things that we like. And I think this week I'm throwing a topwater on there. Yeah, I think this week. Yeah, we'll do that. That's all coming up in just a bit. Don't go too far. Much more Jigs and Bigs action coming up. And Lance Clark in segment 3. Lance likes to fish. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for Just the Tip or Bait of the Week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. We're excited to offer Jigs and Bigs listeners a 15% off savings on your first installment of a month-to-month subscription to Dark Horse Tackle. Dark Horse Tackle provides a monthly supply of small batch, craft, and custom lures, allowing anglers to try some otherwise tough-to-discover baits. This is stuff you're not going to find just anywhere, and Dark Horse Tackle does the hard part for you. They track down these small companies and then test the baits to determine if they're good enough for the DHT community. Subscribe now at darkhorsetackle.com and use the promo code JIGSandBigs15 for your 15% off savings now. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters. Located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut, Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories by Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and much, much more. Financing options are available to upgrade your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Toredge. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, a lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% off with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Toredge.com to check out their selection and lens options. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process.
Bobby and Shawn now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
How behave.
I love it.
I had a learning experience this weekend, a relearning, a re-education, and I wanted to share it with everyone. And you can pull out whatever tip you want from this, or leave the tip in, whatever you want to do. Having fished out of my Native Ultimate paddle, the FX12, for years.
Yep.
I got used to fishing in a certain way, and I got used to loading that kayak in a certain way, and having all of my creature comforts arranged in a certain way, and getting the two Native Ultimate propels not only is a step further than what I was used to, but completely threw me into disarray with all the stuff I was bringing on the NAR. All kayaks are not the same.
No.
And I was making a lot of mental notes on how to attack loading up this new kayak, these propels. One of the things was center of balance. That was kind of an issue because I backloaded my gear behind me. I had my giant tackle crate. I had a cooler. We were keeping a couple fish here and there, and it pushed the back end of that kayak down. I really need to make sure that I come up with some sort of tackle box tray system for underneath the seat because there's so much room. Now, Bobby, I mentioned to you, and this hurt today before we started recording. I literally got off the road maybe an hour ago, whatever, 45 minutes before we started recording. And I had one of my waterproof boxes either has a crack in it or it's broken. And I just lost, I'm going to lose. There's no way they're going to survive. The water, there was so much water in the boat where these things were because of the rainstorm, and they don't have scuppers. They were swimming, and I probably lost about $50 worth of hooks. On top of that, my plastic bags, which I seal up, they're in freezer bags. They've got zippers.
Yeah.
Some of them were not perfectly sealed. There's a bunch of plastics that I have to dry out and throw into different bags.
Yep.
I think with the plastics, I just purchased a Busby plastics container that is completely waterproof. We're going to see how that works. But I really have to work on this tray and centering the gravity in this kayak. So I guess my tip is figure out what's good for you. And it's just like with picking lures. Figure out what works for you. And then if you have to switch kayaks, keep in mind what your goals are and adapt them to that kayak. Don't just throw the same shit back and forth because it might not work.
It might not be
in
a
a
good
number
fit.
of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Pay attention to what you're doing is basically it. Because I learned some lessons this weekend,
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's all. Simple one.
I freaking love it. I love it, guys.
Yay.
Are you ready? I think everybody's ready.
Old people.
No, first I want to say this. I get it. When you get into your golden years and you're retired, you've put your time in, you've earned your ability to recreate. Get out there and enjoy the outdoors. Get some exercise, socialize with your peers. I get that. It's okay. This week, Chrissy Fishing and myself fished a body of water today that I swear to you, there was some type of a 55 plus or a group or some type of a senior center or something was having an outing and everybody was paddling. And Chrissy got on the water when she actually was running a little bit late and said, I'll catch up with you. And when she did catch up with me, she's like, I've never seen this ramp so busy. Like it was so full. She had to park like on another street. Like there was no parking for it. It was crazy. And, I'm bringing my kayak down to the water, and folks of a certain generation in wreck kayaks will often playfully say things about fishing. And there was one individual that looked at me dead in the eyes and was like,
You better hurry up. The fish are waiting for you.
and I know he's just making conversation, but I'm like, it just feels patronizing. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to expel any of that in that moment because I know that's not where that's coming from. I'm going to do the adult thing and bitch about it on my podcast.
Did you respond? Oh, that's fine. Death's waiting for you.
I didn't say it out loud. I didn't say it out loud at all. And, of course, everybody's like, oh, they biting, as they're going by. But what happens is this. They launch their boats and they don't get the fuck off the ramp. They're just on it. Like they're just hanging out. And they must have been there. And I mean, I actually think Chrissy got it worse because I look like an asshole. You know what I mean? Somebody's like, oh, this guy doesn't seem right. Maybe he'll cut me. You know what I mean? Chrissy seems approachable and, dare I say, nice. And, also, and of course, and this one, I overheard this one. I was not that far away when they started. Someone was like,
What are you gonna catch us for dinner?
and I'm like, Chrissy, punch them. Just fucking punch them. Just cream of cream soup. That's what you're getting. Like, I'm just like, oh my God. And they just didn't get off the ramp. It was just a clusterfuck. My boat is enormous. And leaving the ramp, there's this small dock that's right there. It's a very skinny area. So I just kind of like paddled back till it opened up, moved my rudder, and I was gone. Like, thankfully, it drops off pretty deep there, so you can drop the propel with ease, and then just I was out. quickly, and I was throwing around lures and I was in my element, but I could overhear all this stuff, and I'm like, where are they going? It must have been 45 minutes that they were before they actually took off and went along the bank the other way. You know, it just blew my mind, and I made a reference, and this is terrible, but I did make a reference to Chrissy about. I'm gonna put this so I can show you guys.
Oh my God!
What? I know I'm probably missing something in the text.
We'll add this as an addendum. Finish what you're gonna say.
All right.
God.
So, here we go. All right, I'm gonna show you guys an image here. All right. Let's see. We're gonna present. We're gonna share screen, and all right. Take a look at the picture right here on the left where it says Dark Crystal official trailer. Every one of these motherfuckers just reminded me of this character here from the Dark Crystal, hunched over with like just, and I get it. I get it. I'm not far from being in that age group myself. I'm not. You know what I mean? I get it. It's going to happen to me too. And God, if I ever make that kind of small talk at a boat launch, fucking drown me. Just please.
For you Dark Crystal fans and non-jig heads, Bobby is referring to the vulture characters that are 1 million years old.
Yes.
And hateful and spiteful.
Oh, wait, hold on. Is this what you were talking about? Chrissy chimes in. She says, oh my God,
Yes.
Bobby, I forgot to tell you. The FTG was whoever missed their Depends and shit all over the floor of a Sanny can. Suddenly, I didn't have to pee anymore. Oh my fucking God! Chrissy, was that before you launched or afterwards? Nothing drives me. I'll tell you. I was fishing at a spot in. I was fishing at Lake Metacomet in Belchertown. This is months ago, and I had to take a whiz. So I go into the Porta-John over there. Oh, it was before Chrissy. I am so sorry. That is terrible. Oh my God. I went into this thing, and I swear it's like there was a Taco Bell convention at the boat ramp, and everybody unloaded all over the wall. I opened the door. I didn't even walk in. I opened the door, and I was like, hell to the no. I shut that door, and I was like, I don't care if I get put on a sex offenders list. I'm pissing in public. Done. Put me on a milk carton. Fine. It's your fault for looking, weirdo. Yeah. God. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's really all I have. Do you guys have anything to add to this?
No.
I do not.
I mean, I don't. We're at this time in human history where the people that are of this age, they have a certain way about them.
Yep.
And things are going to be done that certain way, regardless of who's around. They don't, the read of the room doesn't matter. Shit's getting done in a certain way. And
yeah, I think you nailed it there. The read of the room, because there's a certain entitlement, I feel like, and I don't care. Like if you want to recreate on the water, paddling, or even if you're a rec boater or a jet ski or whatever, as long as you're not an asshole, I have no problem with people enjoying the resource. That's fine. But like, you're launching your boats. There were dudes, like, I'm coming down this steep road that goes down to the ramp, and I'm walking down with this kayak, and like, if I let go, this thing was just gonna run amok, So I'm walking it down. I have, as I'm taking the boat off the trailer, I have these two yahoos trying to take this one wreck kayak off of their roof rack, and it is just like, you can hear it scraping up against the back window, squealing, that sound that light plastic make, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, how many fucking clueless individuals does it take? You know what I mean? You got it up there. I wonder what that seemed like, because I think that would be more difficult. But, then as I'm making my way, so I'm taking my boat off the trailer, these guys start taking their boats off, blocking my way to just get the fuck out of their way. So now I'm standing there waiting. I'm standing there waiting on my phone. I'm like, all right, I got, there's only so many angles I can make with this boat. I get down to the ramp and there's just these like 3 dudes with their boats. Like, I was like, are you guys coming or going? What's going on here? So I just slip my kayak down as far as I can. I just jump on. I take the wheels off. I jump on and I make my way out. I was like, I got to get away from this before I fucking scream at somebody. This is going to be bad. And yeah, the Dark Crystal, 100%. The vultures. I am a terrible human being. I get it. I'm not right, you know?
I have nothing else to add.
Yeah.
I don't. I just I've seen it too much lately. We're in that place. We're just in that place. And
we are in that place. And it's it's not going to be, and there are folks, like, I like to say this. My mom is one that loves to go out and kayak and hike, you know, but she also is aware that, like, she's taking up space at a resource where people might need to get their boats in or out or something, you know, and move things along. Like, she's aware. God, I hope she's not one of these folks that's out there on the water like, oh, we're gonna put our boats on the ramp, then we're gonna talk for an hour. Like, get in the water or don't, you know, put them off to the side and just fucking go to Denny's or whatever. If that's what you want to do, is just have a conversation. Just fucking go do that. But if you're gonna get on the water,
get the fuck on the water.
The views and opinions expressed on Jigs and Bigs today are not the opinions of our partners, of who the fuck is Joe Brown or Shawn the Fisherman. Bobby Roast Beef is just an asshole.
or according to Chrissy, the shitty vultures.
The shit vultures. The shulchers.
Yes.
The fucking shulchers.
That's where we're at.
I think it's time.
Jigs and Bigs. Bait of the week.
So here we are. We're at the middle of the list right now. The top 5 baits that we love to throw. Things that are just stuff that we love to throw. Who necessarily knows? Sometimes it's a confidence bait. Sometimes it's just something that's going to come in clutch and get you bit when you need to. Other times it's just stuff that you like to throw. You know? For loaded potato, that might be that goddamn Whopper Plopper. And that's good.
You and your fucking Whopper Plopper.
You and your
that's our.
Although you had some Whopper Plopper love with the Dock Masters plop bait.
Dude, let me talk about that before we get into this bait of the week shit. I should have mentioned this in segment 1. I caught 1 fish on that. It was very nice. I was very pleased with it. And then the next day, because of the wind shift, you guys know what pondweed is? No, you cannot buy it at your local Theory dispensary.
I was just ask about this. Is it like Jiggler's version 2.0?
No. Pondweed is what looks to be a younger cousin of eelgrass.
Okay.
But it's hair thin. And when it dies, it is the worst thing to get wrapped around the prop of a Whopper Plopper, the swivel on a tackle frog, the fucking eyelet on a Ned rig. It's the worst.
Gotcha.
It is shit. It is horrible. It is awful. It sucks.
Does it tear easily?
Yeah, but it still gets wrapped up so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't even fucking matter. When you get 5 strands of it wrapped around a prop, it's miserable.
Yeah.
That took out the dock plop that I was using. I had to go to the tackle frog, and even that I was pulling pondweed off the tackle frog's fucking swivel on the back of it. It was amazing how miserable this was. And then I threw a Ned rig, and I was pulling it off that. I'm like, this is fucking insane. So
pondweed, huh? I'm sure I've come across it, but
it's so thin, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's fucking awful. So fuck that shit. But I'll start. Fucking A.
Yeah, fuck it.
We're in the middle of our list, right?
Yep, mid list.
People have heard me say this before. I use it a lot in cold water, but it's not restricted to that. I think it shines a little more in cold water, but it also shines in high pressure / small, bite window times. So if you got a cold front moving through, I will throw one of these. I will throw a lipless crankbait.
Yep.
I use really 2 brands. I use 3 brands. I do use a Bill Lewis rattle trap, but I don't use conventional sizes. I use those in Minnesota, and I use 3/4 ounce and bigger. I also use the Rapala Rattling wrap in very few colors. 4 of them I think are just perfect. I use them in different conditions. And then I use A-Base. A-Base, let me think about it. I think it's a 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce lipless crankbait.
Yep.
Custom painted. I actually don't know what body it is. Chris could fill us in on that if he wants to. If he doesn't, I don't care. I still use it. Those are the 3 I use, but I use them in a ton of conditions.
Yeah.
A ton. And it's not just spring and fall, folks. I was throwing them yesterday. So that's mine.
Lipless, I love it. I love it. What do you got, Joe?
My number 3, it's gonna be spinnerbait.
Spinnerbait. Okay.
Yeah, I love my spinnerbaits. I've always been a big time confidence bait for me. I'll use them all year round, especially it's just with the vibration, the flash, and just especially when it's windy, a little bit of chop.
Yep.
It's just been a huge confidence bait for me, especially when they're suspended or whatnot. I'll tag them on live scope. I'll do the old count to see when they're sinking, and I'll run it right through them. And very rarely do they not, have at least a reactionary bite to it. Love them. I'll fish them. I'll fish them shallow. I'll fish them deep, all over the place. I always, for my trailers, I typically just use usually a 3.3 Kitech. I'll throw on the back of there, or a similar swim bait. When it comes to color for the trailer, I'll typically stay similar but different to have a little bit of contrast to it. So I'll do that. When it comes to the brands, used to be a big time War Eagle guy. There is still a few that I do throw them on occasion, but the bougie and financially irresponsible part of me is now throwing. I like the Mega Bass and the 6 Cent spinner baits.
Yep.
So I've been throwing those. Some of my biggest fish, bass I've caught, I have been on spinner baits.
Yep.
That's how I caught the lunker in the it was the Hoodlum Fest a couple years ago. Out at Quabog was on a spinner bait. I just love them. It's just a big time confidence bait for me.
Freaking awesome, man. I do like a spinnerbait. I personally like my Klondike Custom Creation spinnerbaits. They're my favorites. For me, it's a buzzbait. And I like to have 3 different sizes. I like to have like a large, tell you the truth, I like to have 4 different sizes. I like to have a large spinnerbait in a conventional kind of a blade. I've been using that Crocagator bait from the top water box from Dark Horse Tackle quite a bit. The other one that I like is this huge spinnerbait, huge buzzbait that's got like a 4-bladed, like it's 4 different blades on the blade that spins. It's from Klondike. The thing is awesome. It just churns like crazy. I have one that I would consider like a medium size, which is like a 1/4 ounce with a smaller blade. It's a little bit more of a compact profile. That is usually the one that I will lend myself to throwing most of the time. And then the other one is a super tiny one, is from Jig Masters. That is the Micro Buzz. The Micro Buzz is great. And I also really like the Micro Buzz because it has a screw lock on it. So, if you're using a buzz toad or some type of a paddle tail, any type of trailer that you're going to use on that, it's going to hold it nice and firm. And I use them primarily for reaction strikes in shallow water on new water, just so I can find fish. I don't care about hooking up. I just want to know, all right, cool, there's fish here. Now I'm going to follow up. And that's usually how I catch plenty of fish on buzz baits. When the conditions are right to get them, but I will be able to find fish with a buzzbait fishing shallow and getting some kind of a reaction. Then I know, I'm like, okay, good, they are in there. There's weeds over there. They're in here. Great, wonderful, and then I'll throw, maybe a stick bait or a finesse jig or something like that up there, and then I can get that bite. I really don't pay attention so much to skirts. I've started this year carrying skirts and changing them out if I like to. I like to actually keep my buzz baits skirtless for the most part and just throw some type of a plastic on there to bulk it up and give a little bit of additional sort of action off the back end, whether it be a paddle tail or some type of a grub or a buzz toad or something along those lines. Lots of times I like to save my buzz toads to throw a buzz toad when I need a buzz toad. But, you know, I can throw a plastic on the back. Even I've used the adrenaline crawls from X Zone before as a buzzbait trailer. Awesome. Cut them down a little bit for the smaller buzzbaits, but yeah, awesome. So that's for me. Number 3 is a buzzbait. I love a buzzbait. You should too.
Awesome.
And I think, honestly, if I'm thinking topwater as far as favorites, I would rather throw a buzzbait than anything else. It's probably one of my favorite topwater presentations just because of the amount of water you can cover in the amount of time. You know? Beautiful. Sexy. Is that all we have for segment 2?
That's it.
That's it. We're fucking flying through this. This is great, guys. We're going to take a short break, guys. We got Lance Clark coming up next segment. We are going to talk about fishing in the Carolinas. He's going to talk specifically about some river fishing and a couple of great companies that he works with, one of which is Reaction Tackle. You guys might remember we had Cody, who handles all of he's the face of Reaction Tackle over on Instagram, TikTok, and all that great stuff. And we have all kinds of good stuff coming up for you after this. Plus, I'm going to tell you guys about my plans for 2024. Travel coming up, because that dawned on me this week, and I wanted to make sure to talk about it. So stick around. Segment 3 coming up. Don't go too far. Much more coming up right after. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. You know, if there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Bigs sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. telling you guys right now that when it rains, it freaking pours here at the Jigs and Bigs HQ. As far as interviews are concerned, we've got a bunch lined up, and today I'm joined with Lance Clark. Lance is let's go back a little bit here. Lance and I are, I guess you could say, we're kind of colleagues. We're both pro staffers for the Reaction Tackle brand, and that's how we kind of got connected. And Lance is also a rep for a pretty good tungsten company too that I only recently kind of got to know a little bit. But Lance, how you doing, dude? How's everything going for you?
Man, it is great. I am on the last day of my vacation down here in Sunset Beach, really in Carolina Shores, North Carolina, and it is just phenomenal.
That is awesome, dude. That is great. I told my wife, you and I were talking, and you had mentioned that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about vacation. My wife is like, how can hang on, she said it like this.
How does anybody forget about vacation?
And I was like, you don't understand. I'm like, when you're an angler and you're as hardcore about it as I am, every day kind of has a little bit of vacation for you, So it's easy to shuffle things up. I totally get it. She's just, she's just hating. Anyway, let's dive right in, man. We got a lot to talk about here, but let's start at the very beginning. Your Instagram, you refer to yourself as, I believe, a Carolina chunk chaser, which applause to that. First off.
So when I first started fishing, I quickly noticed that I grew up fishing my whole life, like live bait and hook with a bobber. But I got into bass fishing like a little over 3 years ago. Yeah. And when I started like learning about the community, I noticed that everybody had their own thing that they called them football, greenfish, bronze backs, pigs, whatever. And chunks was kind of my thing. And it kind of stuck with me.
That's perfect. So, No, that is 100% perfect, man. And your timeline and mine are pretty similar. Like I've only really been, I started fishing really like focusing on like 2013 was when I first started kind of getting into even just artificial baits. I was the same way. I started throwing worms on bobbers as a kid, but there's something about that community, regardless of just bass fishing in general, just fishing overall. Like there's a great community out there. And I think a lot of that has to do with social media kind of growing that a bit.
Very much so.
Yeah, it allows, I think, folks, you're not limited to just the folks that you fish with, though I do recommend everybody go out and be as friendly as you can to folks who are fishing out there because you can make some lifelong friends that way. There's a great way.
Absolutely. You can learn a lot of really good tips, too.
Oh, for sure. That too. It's like that firsthand. But I mean, is a great concession. Like if, you're a person who's on social media all the time, the fishing community at large is amazing. It absolutely is. There was a friend of the show. We've had him on before, Brandon, Dust Off Fishing. He had,
I love him.
Oh, he's great, man. I'm excited. I'm finally actually going to get to meet him, next weekend. I've never met him in person. And we've talked a bunch, but great dude. I'm going to get to meet him in person. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be pretty slick. But he had posted something and he said, what's the thing about, social media, about fishing and social media that kind of like keeps you going? And I just said one word, community, 100, just community, 100%. And I was not alone in that. He shared the results and there were a lot of people that said the same kind of thing. And I'm like, this is just, it's something magic about it. Now, you're based in the Carolinas, right?
Yeah, so I am right at the lip of South Carolina. I am in North Carolina in a little mountain town called Tryon.
All righty, nice.
The only body of water around me is untouchable. It's private. You can't get to it unless you know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah, are you one of those folks that knows somebody?
So I'm working my way in there. I just started working at this place a few months back, and a lot of the people that live on that lake come in there, and I'm the bartender, so I'm working on it.
Oh, dude, you're in a great position right there.
Absolutely.
Dude, that is because I work in the bar industry too. I know, somebody has a couple of pops and a good conversation with you, and the next thing you know, they're airdropping waypoints to you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a good thing. Dude, that's awesome. That's freaking huge.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
You're in actually my wife's favorite spot in the South. In fact, she and I have had conversations at length this year about, when she's ready to retire. And I work for myself, so I'm probably going to work till I die. But
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's just how it is. And I, you know, we have this idea that we're like, you know, let's spend those winter months further down south and get out of this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, so that means I can fish that much more. That's great. And we may end up in that
year
area.
round.
Yeah, that's, oh God, I'm so jealous. I mean, technically I could fish year round with ice fishing, but it's just not the same. It's just not.
Oh yeah, there's none of that here.
Yeah. Now, what's your preferred method for fishing? Are you got a boat? Are you mainly a kayak angler? Are you hitting the bank most of the time? Like, what's your general style?
So, see, you said that, but there's two different ways that question is worded. Preferred, I prefer to be in my kayak, but right now my kayak, I got a cheap Lifetime kayak that I've had for a couple years now.
Yep.
And I went down the Green River not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
I got a pretty much a raw spot now. It's time for an upgrade. So I have been banking it lately and banking it hard. But I'm also the type of guy where I wear Crocs, or not Crocs, but Chacos.
Yep.
And I will put on my Chacos and any shorts or pants that I own that I fish in are quick dry, like WeatherTech or whatever.
Oh yeah, you'll get right in the water. Yep.
I have no problems hopping in the river and just going.
Yep.
And that is like, honestly, and I will argue with any like tournament angler, you know, unless you're in one of these stock lakes that's ridiculously stocked for tournaments, I'm going to catch better bass than you in a river any day. I'm going to figure out my bite faster than you are. And once I get on that bite, I'm more likely to get that big fish quicker than you are, because there's a lot less of the trial and error on the river than there is on the lake.
Oh yeah, and you know that's the thing about river fishing. It's like you can eliminate so much water based on the current or the depth, or you can figure out where the fish are relatively quickly.
Yep.
With a river, I mean, you need to know what you're looking for, and that's a different sort of thing. So having some experience and going on that, I don't doubt it. Plus, there's something to be said about waiting, where especially this time of year, it's fantastic.
Yeah, man, it's not just for trout fishing. The guy like us bass anglers, like, we got to take that back. Not being funny, like, let's not divide that fisherman. But in all honesty, like, it's not something that's talked about in the bass community unless you're topwater fly fishing for smallmouth. And like, we need to own that. Like, bass guys, get in the water, like get in those rivers, get up waist deep.
Yep.
And you'll wind up getting up a channel that you're back up in knee deep, maybe ankle deep, but you'll find some nice pockets and drop offs. And like, I've got a river near me called the Packlet River. Now, where I live in Tryon, it's not that deep. But where I used to live down in Spartanburg, there's areas that, it gets 8-10 feet deep at least.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I found some pockets of smallmouth, little drop off tide pools where I'll caught 3-4 pound smallmouth.
Yeah.
I mean, not smallmouth, but spotted bass.
Oh,
you're not finding that anywhere else, mostly in these lakes, because they're overpopulated. But in these rivers like this, the strong survive, and you'll find these big ones.
Oh yeah. No, that's for sure, man. So let's talk about like your go-tos. Like, when you're out there, what are your confidence baits? What's your short list look like of baits that you would throw? Yeah.
I keep it simple, man. So like, to touch back on y'all's episode that I recently listened to, where you talk about like tuning out the hype and just focusing on like what's biting on what you're fishing. So I kind of stuck to the fundamentals.
Oh yeah.
A spinner bait, generally a 3/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce spinner bait. I don't go any bigger or much smaller. A shaky head, like a 3/16 to a 1/8 ounce shaky head.
Yep.
And I've done this little thing lately where instead of using a normal EWG hook for my Texas rigs, I use a screw lock weightless swim bait hook.
Oh, okay.
And for all my Texas rig applications, man, if you haven't, Bobby, try it.
Really?
And you'll notice that you're holding on to a lot more of your soft plastics, a lot more.
No kidding. I could see that. The screw lock generally holds on pretty tight, and that's that helps a lot. And you don't have that sliding down the shank. That actually I think does more damage. Yeah.
So finesse fishing, throwing a Texas rig, a spinner bait, or a shaky head. Every once in a while, I'll grab, a square bill, because I do fish a lot of rivers, and like, you can't just not throw a square bill.
Yep.
But I hate to be that guy that like sounds like childish or like impatient, but I don't like losing my baits all the time, man. And those treble hooks, man, they just love to say goodbye.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they get caught up on some crazy shit, and I mean, that's the thing. Square bills, they do deflect really well, but every once in a while, you'll get that rear treble that's just going to hold on to a rock, and you're like, And in a river, it's one thing if you're, in a kayak and you're in a, lake or a pond or something like that. You get over to it and you can free it up. But if you're in a river, you might not be able to get. It might be dangerous to, cross over a current seam, and it's that's tough, dude. Let's talk as far as, have you traveled specifically to fish? Like, have you taken any destination trips or anything like that?
So not like in the sense of, okay, I'm going to plan out and go rent an Airbnb and go fishing. But so my girlfriend is a makeup artist. She's a professional makeup artist.
Yep.
She travels all over the Western North Carolina area. And a lot of the places that she goes, like I'll drive her there if it's my day off. And those are some pretty exclusive locations. And a lot of them have private bodies of water on them.
Yeah.
Like I got my personal best. Like I'll say this with no shame. We're out at a place in Asheville called Biltmore.
Yep.
And I got to go out there. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black. Nobody's out there. I went to their bass pond that they do their fly fishing tours in.
Oh, okay.
And I was slow rolling my favorite spinner bait. That's like, I think one of the newer, most slept on spinner baits out there. And that's a 10,000 fish cycle bait.
Oh, okay.
And I call it like hair over 10 pounder.
No shit. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's like I want to take a trip. Like I want to plan a trip for my birthday next year. It's not going to happen this year because we had a wedding of a friend this year.
Yep.
But I want to go out next year and just like rent a place with a couple of buddies.
Yep.
And in like either northern Georgia or like kind of close to where I'm at in North Carolina, and just have a place on a private body of water and just go to town.
No, I think I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. I think that the more you can sort of create spots to get out of your own little, corner of the world and get that experience. And I also recommend go with a guide. Your first time out to especially if it's like a massive body of water that you've got a limited amount of time to get, some experience with. Go with a guide. You might leave with a great friend afterwards. Like you spend 8 hours on somebody's boat talking about all kinds of stuff. And it's awesome. They've got the experience to kind of like really kind of give you the best experience that you're going to have with a limited amount of time if you're traveling. But that's awesome.
These guys only do this every day, all day. Why would you not want to listen to their advice?
It's money well spent. That's what I say all the time. Yeah. And it's so funny. When I started, I realized that was the real benefit of going and fishing like a destination with a guide. I was like, I mentioned it to my wife, and I really expected her to be like, why would you spend money to fish with somebody? She's like, no, I guess that kind of does make sense, actually. I'm like, holy shit, I'm right.
I'm fucking right.
That never happens. It never happs.
You got to cherish those moments. You got to put them in a box, hold on to them, make sure you date them, so don't forget them.
It's true. Now, do you have a list of some spots that you would like, that are like bucket list bodies of water that you'd like to fish?
There's honestly some lakes in North Carolina that I really want to get to. Like the town where my girl's from, they have a lake called Lake Jordan. That's a very popular lake up there. I don't think they do like big tournaments on it, but it's like supposed to be really, really good fishing.
Yeah. Sometimes those are the best lakes.
I want to get out there. I want to get up north. I don't have a particular lake in mind, but like I do want to freeze my toes off and possibly get frostbite and go ice fishing, because that's an experience that I want to say that I did.
I would recommend it. Like I think some people just won't do it. They just won't get on the ice. It's like their brain tells them this is a stupid idea, But the reality of it is, like, if you take the proper precautions and you wait until that there is safe ice and you don't do anything stupid, you can have an amazing time ice fishing. Now, the fishing can be really, really slow. Other times,
that's a valid point right there.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything stupid, you can have a lot of fun and a really great time doing a lot of things.
That's true. Yeah, as long as you just don't do anything dumb. That's the primarily that's the big one, I always recommend, to everybody, plan to take in a few extra calories, whether that be in liquid form or in just standing around the grill eating all kinds of a variety of meats. But, that's the thing about ice fishing. It really is, around here, like you see,
documentaries of folks that live like in Alaska, and they're like ice fishing to survive, you know, and they're just kneeling on the ice and jigging with a you know, maybe a small jigging spoon or a tiny jig, and you know, they're catching fish to sustain themselves. That type of ice fishing to me, no way. Sitting down in the open, just playing, you know, just sitting there with a jigging rod and like basically catching fish that way, that really doesn't do it so much for me. But I will say, like around here, the majority of folks that I know that ice fish, this is more of a social occasion. They'll get out on the ice in a big group. They'll put out a bunch of tip-ups. They may have a couple of holes that they drill where they jig, you know, and it's more or less like the camaraderie, and that's where your real community is. Like those ice fishermen are crazy. We just had a guide on this last year. AJ, he has a guide service called Battlefish Charters, and he's in the upstate New York area, and he actually does this like ice fishing guided experience where you basically have like a tent or a shanty that you'll put together, an ice house to fish out of. But he's got all these clients all over the place. It's like a little village on the ice. And it sounds amazing. You know, it really does. But what's cool is that, again, like you're going to a body of water where he's got this experience and he's like, yeah, so we're over a weed bed right here. That's going to hold some fish. Or we're over some rock piles or something specifically. He knows the structure in advance. He also does kayak guided tours too. I forget what river it is that he does, but he's got like up to like 14 different boats he can take out a bunch of people.
Yeah, I think I'd rather do a kayak guided tour than a boat guided tour. If I was to do a guide, just because like, I don't know, I feel a little more, that's like more up my alley, and
yeah.
I can take what I learned from that person and use it.
Apply
like,
it directly.
If I go on a boat guided tour, then I go back home. Like I'm not going to have a boat.
Yeah.
Like try to recreate those moments.
That's exactly it. You kind of have to take that and work with it or adapt it, you know, versus, yeah, you're right. You go out in a kayak and you're seeing it firsthand.
I have one more bucket list place. This one's kind of funny. I don't think it'd be one you'd expect. Mm-hmm. Working with these guys that I work with at NACO or NACO, depending on how they say it.
Yeah.
There's some lakes in China that they fish. Like my boss, he goes by XP. They send me back. They had this fish. I want to say it's called the Mongolian fish. I could be saying that wrong, but it looks like a sick bass, if that makes sense. Like it's got this palish, greenish, almost yellow tint with big black splotches. But it looks like a bass, like a big, nice largemouth.
Really? Okay.
Almost. Yeah, I'll send you a picture after we get done talking. I'll send you a picture of it. But then out of the same waters that he's catching those, he's catching these big, giant, like their version of like toothy critters called yellow cheek, which are just like these big, long silver fish with like yellow faces and like really sharp teeth. Mm-hmm. And then like he sent me pictures of a day out on the water, and they do have largemouth over there, but they were brought over there. They're like not naturally.
Oh yeah.
Over there. But then he'll send me these like 3 or 4 different other fish, and it's like, man, like when I go fishing, it's bass, bluegill, or sunfish, and then maybe if I'm lucky, which I haven't been yet, a pickerel. Or something like that. I caught one, what they call a sauger. It kind of looks like a walleye, but it's not. Oh,
yeah. I know what you're talking about. Really?
Yeah, I caught 2 of those last year on the Broad River. It's pretty fun experience. On a chatterbait, of all things.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't know what it was, and I went to just like do the normal, like pull the line up and lip it right there standing in the water, and I was like, well, nope, those are teeth.
Yeah, those are teeth. Yeah, absolutely. When you were reeling those in, were they just dead weight?
No, they were fighting.
Oh, really?
But it was a weird fight. Like, you know how, like, for lack of a better term, I say this about catfish, which I broke off on 2 this weekend that I'm like really upset about. You know, when catfish, like, they do like alligator, they death roll. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that's what it felt like. Like, I didn't necessarily like see the roll, but it definitely felt like they were like rolling.
Just spinning, yeah. Huh.
As opposed to trying to swim away.
Interesting. Yeah, I've always heard that walleye, and I would assume sauger probably are the same way, where they basically, it's like reeling in like just dead weight. But I mean, I've never caught either. You know, we do have walleye up here, but they're not easy to come by.
I caught a catfish this morning. I mean, I got a good lip on him. I had him lipped and on the bank and everything. Man.
Yep.
He they shake a lot more than bass do, and I don't like to get close to the fins because call me a scaredy cat. I don't want to get stabbed.
Well, fair enough, man.
He was like that perfect size where like his had been. He stabbed enough things where they were filed down and sharp, but they weren't dull. But he was probably a solid 7-8 pound catfish.
Yep.
And yeah, I lost him. But he death rowed on me. I didn't know what it was for a second. I thought it was a bass because I saw this massive blow up on the bank, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm about to get him." And I threw out a little wacky rig with like a 3-inch Yamasenko.
Yep.
And he slammed it. And I was like, man, I done caught a monster bass up here on the bank. And then when I finally got to where I could see him, I was like, nope, I've caught a really fat catfish.
Freaking channel cat. Damn.
Yeah. In this pond, in this neighborhood, it's like, I'm pretty convinced this used to be a swamp before they turned it into a neighborhood. Because all the water in all these ponds is like that black water you see in Florida.
Oh, yeah. It almost looks like tea, right?
Almost.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like tannins.
Yep.
It's like it hasn't rained here or been stormy for the 6 days we're here, but the water's been the same tint the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have a couple of spots that are around here that are like that, and you're right. I mean, it's definitely a unique sort of color, or unique condition to have to deal with. You mentioned the company NACO that you've been working with in the past.
Yeah.
I recently started using some of their drop shot weights that came included in a Fresh Baits drop shot kit that they had put
you're
together.
welcome. I set that up.
Oh, you did? Nice. Very nice. Yeah, no complaints at all. They're fantastic. But, it's funny. Like, I love, like you mentioned, like that the NACO is from China. But, like, fishing around the world, and this is kind of the point I want to get to, fishing around the world, it's so universal. Like, you can be anywhere, and people, they just naturally, it's like they're anglers, and you'll find that community anywhere. It might be a small pocket of folks, but whether you're in, almost any of the 7 continents you go to, you're going to find folks who like to fish and folks who are just crazy about it. And I think that's freaking amazing. Tell me a little bit about your connection. Well, let's start with NACO and then we'll talk reaction afterwards.
Okay. So I found NACO. Honestly, it ties into reaction. Like I was using a lot of stuff in reaction.
Yep.
But I found NACO literally came up on Amazon because that's where I found out about reaction at before I started ordering from the website directly.
Yep.
And I was getting some stuff from there. NACO came up. I tried out a few things and I liked it. And they had some things that reaction didn't offer at the time. So I was like, I'm going to check this out. And one thing led to another. And it was one of those things was like everything that I tried, I love. Like there is one item that we have right now that we're literally waiting until we run out of it. And then we're redesigning it. Well, we're starting to redesign it now, but we're not like we're going to release it until we eliminate all the rest of the stuff. But like anything that they make that like has an issue, you come back to them. Like they don't beat around the bush.
Yep.
They give you your money back. They refund the product. And they take it into consideration. We're redesigning like our football jigs and stuff right now just because people want a different style head. And we hear that and we're working on it.
Yep.
And I noticed that their social media was just dead in the water, man.
Yeah.
Just dead in the water. And, these guys, they're Chinese guys and they're trying to reach the American market.
Yep.
And it's just that the translation was not there. Right now, like, not to get too much into that whole debate, like that's hard to do.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah. It is.
I reached out to them and a few emails turned into we want you to do this. We want you to just manage our social stuff for us. I was like, yeah, I don't mind doing that at all. And I felt like, if have now at this point, when I started working for them in December of last year,
yep.
all my tackle box, if they make it, I have it. And I told Cody this at Reaction. I love Reaction tackle. They have 2 items right now that I specifically use because NACO doesn't offer it. Mm-hmm. And Reaction is the best that I've seen, and that's their extra wide gap shaky head and their extra wide gap mushroom head Neds.
Oh yeah,
and then
I think they're great.
Yeah, and my tackle bag.
You're welcome for that.
Before they sold out, is the backpack because their bags are unlike anything I've used before.
Yeah, that's one thing that Reaction has, and that's a ton of variety. Like they offer,
they have a ton of variety.
Yeah, I mean, you can outfit so much of your stuff with that one brand, and I mean, I make no secrets about that. I think Reaction tackle is one of the best values out there. in terms of, as far as whether it's terminal tackle or accessories. I mean, there's some really great, even line. Like I didn't even realize that they had a stake in the game as far as fishing line goes. But then
they have more than a stake in the game. They have some of the. I love their line.
I think it's fantastic.
Everybody has their issues, but I love it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody likes what they like, and I completely understand that. But I think that for the value, I think reaction tackle is fantastic.
And see, that's the way that I look at this from. Like, I've never been that guy that's like, oh, I'm all about the name brand. Like NACO just dropped Taipan line, like to finish up with that. Like, I still use Reactions. What's it? That's a 10-pound. Yeah, I still use their 10-pound braid. I think it's 10. Yeah, I use a 10-pound braid in aqua camo because like we don't offer our braid down that low, and I need some. And so I keep us full, and the aqua camo is like my favorite color because I use a long enough leader where the color's just for me at this point anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But I got with NACO. I started running the socials, and now it's like I got them in my first like tackle shop yesterday. Like we sealed the deal, the invoice was sent and paid, so they're now going to be in a small tackle shop in North Carolina down the road from my house.
Kidding.
They're honest guys, man. But like I said, my owner fishes every day. If he's not on the water, he's in a factory that we like have, like people buy stock and stuff. Like we have ownership in some of these factories, and that's why they're able to offer like the tungsten and the bulk packs.
Gotcha.
And the price that we're able to offer it to.
No, that's awesome. That is freaking awesome. Yeah, I had never even heard of NACO before. And these drop shot weights, I looked at them. I'm just like, I got to tie these on. These aren't the quick clips. I'm like, no big deal. We'll give them a shot. And I'm like, these are all right. These are all right. And, I don't know about you, but we're in one of those states where we have, I'll say pretty interesting lead laws up here.
Some states are like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many. There's only, I think last I counted, we had 6 in total. And each state seems to be, kind of particular about the way that they sort of run it. So like a lot of people in Massachusetts will talk and they'll just say, oh, we can't use lead anything. And they're like, and the reality of it is that what you can't use is a lead sinker or a jig that is under an ounce. Over an ounce is fine, but under an ounce, that's what's prohibited. But you throw a blade or, you throw like a blade, like an underspin, totally fine. A chatterbait, fine, not a problem. You throw something like a bill, if it's got a bill, like a scrounger, I think that would probably kind of, be all right too. But you throw like, a simple jig head with a paddle tail, prohibited. So that's
wild.
It really, man, it really is. And there's questions about the law specifically. I won't even get into it as a whole like rabbit hole. I don't want to go down, but there was a lot of questions like something like, what about a swim jig? It's not really traditionally fished on the bottom. It's essentially the same thing as like throwing a chatterbait. It just doesn't have a blade. What's the deal with that? And for some, we would get some answers that were like, yeah, that's fine, and then other times it was just like, no, that's prohibited, as well as everything else. But yeah, that seems to be what it is. It's like if it's got some type of an attachment, like a blade or a bill or something like that, then it gets a pass. But otherwise, it's prohibited. And for states like us, lead alternatives, there's a lot of options that you can go. But I will say this, and I know plenty of people are just like, oh yeah, you can use, plenty of alternatives. Tungsten's expensive. Tungsten's expensive because tungsten is the best.
Yep.
That's why. Like
it is.
You fish the same, weight jig or sinker, like a drop shot or something, you're going to feel everything with that tungsten. Everything. Yep. In comparison, it's like watching like traditional standard definition television and then HD TV. Like it's just that much more of a game changer. So like if you're in a situation where you've got to use tungsten, why the hell not?
Yeah, and that's why we take this and we offer it at a rate, like generally, I've done the math, and generally we run like $80 to $1.15 like per weight cheaper.
Oh wow, yeah, that's great.
We want everybody. Like if you were to take one of our 10 packs, say of a 3/8 ounce 10 pack, and then you go to a different company, we won't name names, and they're offering it in a 3 or 4 pack.
Yep.
Like it's going to cost a lot more to get 10 weights from them. And like, we're not doing it to like screw over somebody else. Like we just want people to try tungsten out because like, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a Pro TI reel. Like my nicest reel is my Tatula, and it's just the 150 Tula.
Yep.
I got it in a trade.
Yeah.
I traded for the Kestrel reel that I wanted to give away.
Oh, there you go.
Like I don't believe in paying for the big name unless it's truly like got a reputation to back it up.
Yeah, for sure.
When I tried tungsten, man, I bought some cheap old Walmart tungsten, and like at first I wasn't sold on it because they have that like painted on coating. That's just like not that air powder coating. It's like this painted on coating. But then I tried like the first company, I think it was Woo. I tried some Woo tungsten a buddy of mine gave me that had that powder coating on it. And like, man, it was like night and day.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I instantly got rid of the only lead that I have in my tackle box right now is chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, and some old shaky heads from a company that's not around anymore. I don't know if you heard about them or remember them, called Third Eye Fishing. They got bought out by Z Bait Co.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of them.
A buddy of mine in Spartanburg, and he made some really cool shaky heads. They were really similar to the Sixth Sense Divine shaky head.
Oh, all right, yeah.
But every Sixth Sense shaky head like that I own, the hook was loose, or you catch a fish once or twice and the hook would wobble. Yeah. But the ones that Max made, man, they did not. They were spot on,
sturdy as hell, huh?
Just. Yeah, I still got like 4 or 5 of them. They just, they just do the job and they stand up perfectly.
That's pretty awesome, man. I can get behind that. And that's the thing. I think that for a lot of folks, like, terminal tackle is really personal. Like there's a lot. I love the creativity with different rigging techniques. And the choice that you make is really, I think it comes down basically to personal preference, like what you like. And it's awesome that there's companies out there. So now, how is it that you got connected with Reaction Tackle?
Man, I found them online kind of the same way. I found them on Amazon. And then, I did my research, found out I could order directly off the website, started doing it. And I don't remember if I reached out to them or they reached out to me. I think they reached out to me about like Pro Staff.
Yep.
And I started doing that. It was fun. We talk about Pro Staff stuff a different day, but I really enjoyed what I used from Reaction. Like they were the first brand that got me using the screw lock hooks, which I still use theirs over NACO's only because like Reaction offers a bulk pack and NACO only does like 2 or 3 packs. But I think that's because right now we're going to start designing our own hooks, so we're about to change that up. But man, once I started liking them, man, it was boom. I love the chatterbaits. I think that the Reaction's tungsten chatterbaits, like you don't necessarily have to have a tungsten chatterbait, but there's something about the heads that if you got them and you use them, if you reel them really fast, like if you're doing like a standard cadence and then you kind of speed it up just for a second, they twitch just a little bit differently than like a normal Z-Man chatterbait, and it adds a nice action when you have like a flute.
And
something like that on the end of it.
It's funny, like you throw like a 1/2 ounce tungsten versus a 1/2 ounce lead, and you get a much more downsized presentation. And sometimes that's what matters. Like when I have people that ask me all the time, they're like, well, why would you use tungsten if you were using like a presentation like a chatterbait where you're not looking to feel rocks on the bottom, you're not looking to feel the bottom at all, you're higher up in the water column, and really at that point what you're dealing with is the fact that the density is the way that it is. The head of that bait is just naturally going to be smaller and more compact. So there's that to be taken into consideration. There's some folks that will think, hey, that doesn't really matter to me. What are we talking about? How much smaller? But I forget where
you're
I saw.
You're also going to feel that bite. Like I don't care what you say. I'm not a scientist, but you're going to feel that bite if you got a tungsten head on there. Unless it's just one of those bites where they just inhale it and you snag their lip. Like when they thump it, like you're gonna feel it. With a tungsten jig head, every hit feels like you're fishing a flipping jig.
I will tell you, first time I started using tungsten, I was setting the hook on like every single piece of grass. I would, I drag something through. I'm like, was that a bite? Boom. And I'm like, no, well, hook sets are free. It is what it is. And there's a little bit of a learning curve. I think that once you kind of figure out, and you realize exactly how sensitive it is, you start to make adjustments, and then if you have another presentation that's in lead, or if you're like us, where right down south below us, we can go to Connecticut and use lead all day. And which is nice, but you throw that and you're just like, oh, this is not as sensitive as it was.
You can. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, it really, really doesn't.
And one of my favorite jigs to use, and this is why I buy the ones from Reaction, was the owner blockhead jig. It's just an EWG little. I wouldn't quite call it a mushroom head jig. It's like not a ball head jig, but it's like almost a cylinder, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's a nice little jig head, and it does the job for. If you haven't figured out, like I need tech pose everything because I hate getting snagged.
Yeah.
But like when I ran out of some tungsten jigs one time, and I knew that my order from Reaction wouldn't get here when I needed it, I picked up some of these at a local shop.
Yep.
Because I hadn't used them in forever, and it was like just not the same.
Yeah.
It felt heavier throwing it because it had that bulkier head on it.
Yep.
And it was just like I felt like I was missing bites because like they weren't thumping it, and I couldn't really feel what I don't know. It just didn't feel the same. It's just not the same.
No, I could see that, man. So, obviously, if you've been listening to the show at all, you know that we have a tendency to talk about lots of fishing adjacent type stuff, and one of those things is food. So what I'm looking for, and selfishly, because I'm putting together a little itinerary of places to hit when I'm in different areas. I'm looking for like the mom and pop greasy spoon spot that you're gonna go to. Either after it's been a great day in like, a feeling of celebration, or you're going to go to drown your sorrows because it's been a rough one on the water.
Okay. So I hate to do this because it's my job, but like it has to be the place I work at. That's in Landrum. That's the Hare and Hound.
Fair enough, man.
There's not a lot of places around me.
Yep.
To begin with that are like mom and pop and not a corporate place, but then when you go into some of these, it's just not what you want. I've never left this place, which is why I started working there, without a great meal, without great service, and man, burgers,
beautiful,
buddy. Let me tell you.
Yep, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I'm a burger guy.
Gotta be.
Yeah. No. I'm all about it. Now let's talk. Where the hell was I going with this? I got a good one for you. So you said you've been fishing now for what, a few years going at it, with some tenacity?
Right at 3 years now. Yeah.
So,
taking it seriously. And I'm just like, as my girlfriend tells me all the time, I've dove head first to it, trying to learn as much as I possibly can about it.
And I'm sure that you've taken a dive at some point with your friends where they're like, oh, hey, hey, teach me how to do this or something, or they ask you questions about fishing. And what is the one thing you would give as a bit of info for a newbie, like going out there that you're just like, yeah, you should be doing this? Like one thing that you would suggest for somebody who's fishing in your area for the very first time.
It's kind of a long thing, if that's all right.
That's fine.
I feel like it is.
Go for it.
So you guys touched on it in your last episode to an extent.
Yeah.
Like YouTube's great, podcasts are great, but tune out everything and focus on the fundamentals. Like this is at the end of the day, there's no rule book. This is a wild animal that we're out there chasing. This is hunting for us that don't hunt with guns, or maybe we're looking for another hunt when we're not using the guns.
Exactly.
And this is, or pew-pews, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that.
Oh, on a podcast, yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So this is focus on the fundamentals. The only way you're truly going to learn is time on the water.
Yeah,
get out there,
100%.
find out what works for you, what works for the area you're fishing, try some things out. If it doesn't work, don't write it off. Just try a different day.
Yeah.
Don't jump into the color game. Pick one color for like stained water and overcast days, and one color for clear water and bright and sunny days.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get those figured out and dialed in, then you can try other stuff, but stick to the fundamentals and the basics and realize that at the end of the day, it's about getting the right thing in front of the right fish at the right moment to get that bite. And there is no one solid thing other than you got to have patience and you got to hold your mouth right, because that's important.
Yep. I think the biggest thing when it comes to folks that are getting out there fishing is, I hear this a lot about like, oh, I guess they just didn't want to eat this today. And, you know, or one other, I'll actually, let me back up a little bit and say this. The thing that's unique about fishing, and I've said this on the show before, is that fishing is a sport that is like one part science and one part art. Like, and those two things don't necessarily always line up together. You know, I mean, the science would tell you like, hey, the fish are behaving in this way because of these conditions. They're biologically wired to do this thing. What's going on? But the art of it is, you know, it can be technique, it can be rigging choice, it could be the creative level of putting together your presentation. It might just be the way that you fish it, you know. There's a lot that kind of comes into play there. And I think that the one thing that, you know, you always hear that confidence is key. Confidence is like, it's like that, it's almost like that sixth sense. You know, having a good sense of confidence in whatever it is that you're throwing. Like, no, I can get bit on this. This is what I'm going to throw. And sometimes that confidence is that little extra edge that you need in order to be able to hook up and, you know, and ultimately divide and conquer. You know, that's really what it gets down to. Because you'll have folks that just, they believe in fishing this presentation. It's something that's performed enough for them. And for whatever reason, they managed to get it done, you know? And
I'm like that with a stick bait.
Yep.
5-inch stick bait. Everybody wants to throw it weightless on the wacky, and I'm not against that. I've done that quite a bit. But my go-to weightless stick bait presentation is a 4/0 to a 3/0 Texas rig. Because it still wobbles slowly when it falls.
True.
But you can twitch it, and it almost looks like a fluke darting through the water if you do it right.
Yeah, I agree. I do that with 5-inch ones all the time. And it's that versatility. Like for some folks, like for me, it is all about versatility. Like, how can I fish this one presentation? I've been all about this one jig, this one finesse jig, since like midsummer from that I actually got from Dark Horse Tackle. And part of the reason that I was so into it, I'm like, number one, it's got a skirt. So is
this the Baby Dozer?
No, this is the Giltech finesse jig.
Okay, yeah.
It's almost like a small Ned style jig with a hand-tied skirt on it. So that skirt is going to slow the fall a little bit. It's going to bulk it up and slow the fall, which is terrific because sometimes you need that. You know, sometimes it's not about getting that bait to zip by them and cause a reaction. Sometimes it's having it just slow down. But the other thing is like the choice of trailer. You know, I've been throwing them a lot with the Riot Tantrum, and I love it. I think it's a great pairing. But I've also fooled around and just thrown a small, 2.8-inch Kitech on there. And then come to find out that jig was actually designed for that presentation. So now this jig can be, you can swim it. It's like a little tiny finesse swim jig. It's out of this world, and it's just become. I on one jig I've caught a good number of decent fish, and it's becoming one of those other confidence baits for sure. It actually landed in my ranking for my top 5 favorite baits. It's just been one of those things, and I'm glad I discovered it. But it's that versatility. Like, oh, I'm fishing a spot where, the forage here, there are craws in this lake. Great, cool. I can throw the craw presentation, fish it on the bottom if they're, hitting the bottom, if that's what they're doing. They're feeding off the bottom. Great, perfect. I can do that. But I can also throw a paddle tail on there and, buzz it around weed edges and get bit as well. Mm-hmm. So it's
like a little swim jig. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You can, there's a lot that you can do with it. So that's pretty awesome. Like, confidence, I think, is one of those things that often gets overlooked, but I'm with you. Like, yeah, you stick to the basics, take all that other noise that the industry is giving you and just stick to what you know, and make the best of it. I love that.
See, that confidence can also be, you can create that confidence to it. Like, and a lot of us don't realize that. Like, you just said something about jigs, and like, I fish rivers a lot. You think that I'd have like, man, I could tell you all these stories about jigs I've caught or fish I've caught on a football jig. I can count on one hand the amount of fish I've caught on a skirted jig.
Yeah.
And that's because I don't have a lot of confidence in it. And that's partially because I don't force myself to walk out and just keep one tied on all day.
Yeah.
I'll take it off and not grab it again, knowing that I probably just passed by one 3 or 4 times and he just wasn't looking the right way and I didn't think about it.
Yep.
So we also have to kind of like force ourselves outside of our comfort zone sometimes
to grow that confidence.
Finding new things that we're confident in.
Yep. No, that makes perfect sense. What are your what's your short list of pet peeves when you're out fishing? Like what is it that you're seeing when you're on the water that you're like, you know what really
grinds my gears?
Like that.
Okay, so you talked about fishing, I think, in your kayak, and you had some wreck yackers swim out right in front of you, like 20 feet away from you when they had 600 yards to go through. I don't have that much problem with kayakers doing that because it just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But bass boats, and I hear it a lot. Oh, it's just because I don't have a voice changer. I put one on myself. You don't have a bass boat, so you just mad. No, I have respect, and you don't.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
if I'm sitting here early in the morning, I got out here. I got my kayak loaded in before you could get your truck in because the gate wasn't open yet.
Yep.
And I got loaded in. So when I'm fishing this point, don't come rolling up on me and literally troll right in front of me, because I almost came to fisticuffs with the guy because I was sitting there and he slowly came in and I watched him. He kept coming in. I said, hey man, I'm kind of like hitting this point right here. And he just looked at me and kept on trolling. So I cut my line off. I tied on a 1/2 ounce football jig and I flipped right on top of his deck. And he just looked down at my jig and I hopped it right over the lip of his boat. And I said, the next time I'm going to hit the side of your boat if you don't get out in front of me. It's like, come on, man, have respect. Like, don't intend, because it's not clueless. It's carelessness.
That's
it's
exactly
intentional disrespect.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be a community.
Yep.
And like, we're not going to continue having that community type relationship with people that do stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, I don't have to give you the respect because I troll on up in here with my boat.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter. And especially like there's people out there that can't afford a boat, can't afford a kayak. And if they're bank fishing, like they shouldn't suffer and have the little access that they already have taken away from them when you have a 17-acre lake or whatever to go at. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's funny with, I feel like, there's a potential for assholes to be in any group of folks. So, like I read this before. In a thing like everybody likes to think, oh yeah, stoners, people that smoke weed are fucking generally so laid back and cool. Wrong. There are assholes that love cannabis. You know what I mean? They're out there.
Yeah, there are.
You know what I mean? There are assholes in any group that you have. And like with like the situation that you're describing there, I just shared something earlier this summer. It was a post from another angler, and he was out striper fishing from the bank on this big like rock jetty. And this boat rolls in, and the guy, like, literally his answer when the guy shouted out to him, he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm fishing here. He's like, there's fish all over the place. Go wherever. The guy, his answer was, worry about yourself. If you don't like it, go and get a boat. And it's not about that. It's like, if that's like, you got to understand, folks, like, just because you made whatever decision you made to get a different vessel to fish with does not give you any kind of like VIP treatment at the lake. You know what I mean? You're just another asshole that's looking to catch fish. That's it. That's what we all are. So, when people take that attitude of like, oh, well, I've got a boat, or, and I know this is going to piss some people off, but you know what really pisses me off? When you're fishing and there's a tournament going on and somebody uses that as like a, hey man, can I get in this spot? I'm in a tournament. And I know that there's going to be tournament anglers that are going to say to me like, oh, you should give them the spot. Money's on the line, blah, 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 blah. Well, if I was in a spot, I was in a spot. You know what I mean? I'm an angler like anybody else.
He would have got there first.
That's exactly what I'm saying. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you're having this event. Other anglers that are not part of that tournament are, part of it. Now, I understand there are some folks that are going to say like, oh, well, if they're competitive fishing and I'm just out here fun fishing. I'm like, number one, all fishing is fun. Shut the fuck up about that.
Yep.
Like all fishing is fun. Whether or not you've got money on the line, that's your business. It's not mine as an angler. So if I'm fishing a spot that, maybe it's a brand new body of water and I have no idea of what's going on. I just happen to stumble on your area. It weighs in the same as if I've been fishing that body of water my entire life and I've caught my PB off that spot. And I'm like, fuck you. If you're there first, you're there first. People who think they're entitled to other spots or think they're better than for one reason or the other. You know what kind of people these are, Lance? These are the kind of fucking people that they cut lines. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to get a cup of coffee. Oh God, it drives me nuts.
I have one more pet peeve, but I didn't want to say this is like my pet peeve because this is one, like you said, this can trigger a lot of people. It might even trigger you as you are a parent, correct?
Oh yes.
Also, people, not fishermen, because people who take their kids fishing, usually the kids are preoccupied.
Definitely.
People who are out hiking or at like rec places or public places that take their kids or their dogs with them and they just don't pay attention or are oblivious or careless. So I went out to one of my favorite spots to go to. You have to get out early before the tourists get there.
Yep.
It's a public park area, but you can catch some really nice smallmouth and largemouth here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out fishing. I keep my headphones in sometimes because I don't like the majority of people. And I'm listening to my music, and I notice that there's a little kid following me around because people have started showing up.
Yep.
And I'm tuning him out. I take one of my headphones out, but I'm tuning him out, and I just noticed that he keeps saying, like, "Can I fish with you?" And I was just, no, I don't know you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I'm not your responsibility.
Doing my thing. Like my girlfriend says it's rude, but it's like, I don't know that kid. And I was raised to not talk to strangers. And he just come to find out his parents are sitting on the rock, making out, doing their thing while their kid runs around. And eventually, like, he picks up one of my rods and I like take my other headphone out and I was like, "Hey buddy, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, I don't know you. And these are expensive. And you almost stepped on them just now. So I really prefer you like not touch my things and go back to your parents." And it's like people who let their kids just run around and people who I'm out there fishing and you throw your dog's toy out in front of me.
Yeah.
So now I have to reel my crankbait in really fast and hope that Fido doesn't get one stuck in his tail.
Yep.
Because you didn't take 2 seconds to first off realize that almost every public park has a leash law.
Yeah.
But also pay attention and see that, there's 7 people on this bank and all of us are fishing and you threw your dog's toy out there. Like, it's probably not the smartest decision.
Yeah. That's the thing. I get that too. Like if I said this, I just recently shared something that was like, there are some people that will say that I am, a wonderful soul and the salt of the earth or whatever. And then there are other people who will say I'm a cold-hearted asshole. And I am both of those things. I act accordingly. I can understand not wanting to take responsibility for another person's kid with something like fishing because, like, well, what happens if this kid is dicking around with like a jerkbait or something and gets a hook in his hand or something like that? You know what I mean? Yep. Like, now that's my problem.
That's the way I think.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's like, I and it's so funny. Like, there was just this one, like, it's tough. There's a time and a place. Were you on the bank? You must have been on the bank at this point.
Yeah, I was on the bank. It's only access to this place because it's a nice river.
Yep, that's what makes it so tough.
DuPont State Park.
That's what makes it so tough is because we have a body of water that I fish a lot up here where there's hiking trails that are all over the place. And my favorite is like where like, somebody will be walking their dog and I'm sitting in my kayak 20 feet off the bank, like pitching to a lay down. And then some hiker with their dog will throw a stick into the water, where I'm fishing. And I'm like, what? This happened to me one time. And I never even mentioned this on the show. Happened to me one time. And they threw a stick in there and it happened to go across my line. And I was like, all right, where's the stick? I should probably reel up because the dog's coming in. I hooked the freaking stick.
Of course you did. So did the dog follow it back?
He did, but I threw it back toward the bank. And that was kind of just it. I was like, whatever. The hiker was just like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, you can pay attention to these things. That'd be great. It's interesting because there's this clueless, recreator on the bank and, not really paying attention. And, folks don't take that into consideration that like, oh, I'm having an impact on this person who's trying to use the same facility that I am for the way they want to. And we're both able to do that. Like, it's just like you shouldn't impose your own shit on somebody else, and especially when it's something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Welcome to my TED Talk.
Welcome to my TED Talk. I would attend this TED Talk any Tuesday, sir.
It is ridiculous.
Even though it's Friday.
Yeah, it is ridiculous though, because I can definitely see where that's a pet peeve, and I think it happens so often that a lot of times people don't even talk about it, And there is the other side of it. Like I know that it was so funny that we were just talking about Brandon, but Dust Off had posted a reel yesterday, and in this reel he was rigging up his boat, getting things ready to go, and there was a guy, a young kid, I don't know, maybe like 10, 12 years old, something like that, comes up to him and starts asking him questions. And I guess Dust Off had a conversation with him for a half hour or so, and he edited it down, as much as he could to put this reel together. He gave him some baits and stuff, and he had questions about fishing. That is different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's different than when your kid just comes wandering over and grabs your stuff.
Yep.
Like I want to fish too, That's the one nice thing about being on the water versus on the bank is that you can just get away from that. Like, okay, bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in my kayak and just
Yep. I'm gonna go and get out of here, and I'll come back when you're gone. It'll be fine. Oh man, that is ridiculous. So
I tell you, a sport I love so much, it's caused me to really just have a modern distaste for the modern human.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think you're alone in that at all. I think there's a lot of people who are with you. In fact, a lot of people out there, they fish specifically to just get away from people. And I'm here for it. I think that is 100% the way to make it happen, the way to go.
It's a good way to reset, man.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. Let's discuss your so really, actually, let's dive into this. I'm looking for you to, you know what? We haven't done this question in a while, actually. So let's say Shawn the Fisherman, Who the Fuck is Joe Brown, and myself, we are heading down to your neck of the woods. We got the white Jigs and Bigs van. We're cranking Metallica, maximum volume. We're coming to your place, right? And what we're going to do is take you out fishing at an unnamed local body of water, a spot that you fish regularly. No idea what the conditions are, no idea anything. But here's the deal. You can bring your tackle box, you can bring all of your baits, all your presentations, but you can't bring any rods or reels because we're going to stop off at your favorite tackle shop nearby, give you the Jigs and Bigs corporate card, and you can build a combo and spool it up with whatever it is that you want for line. What is it that you would build?
Everybody would say probably like a DC, and I haven't ever owned a Shimano, so I'm not going to try something that I'm not familiar with.
Sure.
I'm really loving Daiwa right now.
Yep.
So with me having just the standard 150 Tatula, I'd probably say the next level up from that.
Sure. Smart.
Just whatever they're, nicer reel. I just think it's a really nice reel. I love the way the grips feel. I love the guide system.
Yep.
Which I think, with me being new to using braid and everything too, that's really helping me keep from not backlashing and bird's nests and like crazy. And rod wise, man, they don't sell the rod I like in stores, so we might have to order it, ahead of time.
All right, okay.
But it's going to come from Texas. And It's going to come from a company called JB3 Rods.
Oh, all right.
If you haven't heard of them or used them, you need to check them out because I won their general purpose rods called the Vanquish. I won one in a giveaway.
Yep.
And I still have it to this day. It's one of my favorite rods that I use. I brought it with me down here to the beach. It is a workhorse of a rod.
Yep.
I didn't know how I'd like it when I first got it because it felt a little bit thicker than some of the other medium heavy fast rods that I have.
Oh yeah.
But I crank in taters with this rod.
All right. Nice.
On the regular with no problems.
That's awesome.
So that's my combo.
That's pretty awesome.
Their newest series that they just came out with, medium heavy, 7 foot.
Yep.
And that Daiwa, just a standard 150. And I'm good to go.
What are you going to put on that spool? What are you going to spool it with?
So I really like the last time I tried it, Seagar. I tried their entry level package they just came out with.
Oh yeah, the new stuff.
Tactics.
Yeah, it's hot garbage.
And that's hot garbage. You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
So
yeah.
I had a good experience with it. Other than I didn't like the fact that the color faded relatively fast, but that made me want to try some of their actual braid.
Mm-hmm.
But But no, if I want to listen to your advice because I do enjoy your podcast and you seem to have pretty sound advice. I don't know. I think maybe I fall into what everybody else has been talking about. What's that? Everybody uses Power Pro, I think.
A lot of people like Power Pro a lot. It's funny with braid.
Yeah.
Like, I think when it comes to braid is like people have their favorites for whatever reason. But in general, like I've used, what have I used for braid? I use a lot of reaction. I use every spinning combo I have has reaction braid on there. I had been using their 50 pound braided, was it the no fade black? It was the no fade black on my frogging setup. And I actually changed out reels recently, and I needed to replace a bunch. This is when I went to Maryland, and I was like, oh, snakehead, let's go. And I put on some Bass Pro XPS, and I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. Like it's not bad. Like I feel like with braid, it's a whole lot more. I would say it's more forgiving. Like there's some brands that are louder than others, and to some people that matters. Some are a little bit smoother. It's like, so it's if you have your favorites, it is what it is. And personally, I think going braid to a fluoro leader, if you trust your leader knots, go for it. I'm here for it. If you have to downsize the versatility, I think that there's always a little trade-off, obviously. You got to tie new leaders periodically, which kind of sucks if it's windy and you're in a kayak and you're all over the place. It happens. But, I'm here for it. I think I
want to make you cringe. Are you ready?
Go hit me. What you got?
So I use braid on almost all my setups. I really don't have any straight floor lines. When we go out, when you come down here with the van, I honestly might spool up with some P-Line tactical fluorocarbon because P-Line's honestly one of my favorite regular line brands. I use braid to a copolymer leader.
Oh,
now,
really?
I use a fluorocarbon coated copolymer.
Yep.
But I use like the most affordable copolymer that I could find, and I love it. And that's P-Line Fluoroclear. And let me tell you, it ain't let me down.
Really?
If I break off, it's because, like, I will say 95% of the time, because there's always room for error.
Sure.
95% of the time when I break off, it's because Lance fought, 4 fish today and then didn't retie his line after being drugged across storm drain covers and rocks and stumps. I lost a really nice bass that way this weekend.
Yep. But we've learned recently
this stuff,
that happens.
This stuff is light. It's a thinner diameter line. Every line has memory, and if you're like, I learned if you're a serious angler, you're changing your leader every weekend. Especially if you're fishing every weekend, you're changing your leader every weekend. Once you go out and take a 3 or 4 day trip, and then you throw those rods in your closet or throw them in your garage, especially if they're exposed to heat, any line is going to get that memory stored up in it.
Yep.
But I've noticed, like, I've been out all weekend and I've just noticed that one of my rods has started, like, there's a little bit of memory sticking up in my line. But this stuff, like, it holds very well. It does really good on a spinning rod. And I don't break off.
How long of a leader are you putting on?
Oh, buddy, let me tell you. So I started off doing just like, my arms extended are like a little over 6 feet.
Uh-huh.
So I would do like I'd pull off like arm length like 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed, like, I'd go out on the water and there's nothing more frustrating than being out on a windy day and trying to retie a leader
that
line.
sucks.
So I am running probably way too long of a leader.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's what I was curious about. Now, what are you tying for a leader knot? Just out of curiosity, because running, that's the thing. I find that in my spinning combos, I'm like that. I'll put a 14 to 21 foot leader on my spinning combos because that leader knot has no problem going through those guides with no issue whatsoever. Bait casters are a little bit of a different animal. I don't like
the knot that I'm tying. Is like the easiest that I've learned, and it's a very thin knot. I couldn't tell you the name. I want to say it starts with an A. It's like an Arbor gas, or I don't know, but that's probably not it.
Is it an Albright knot?
It's like And that maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe. Again, I learned it one time and I like watched the video several times and learned. So basically you make your loop with your leader, you run your braid through it.
See all bright.
And like you just tie your braid around that loop with a smaller diameter line, you just loop it around more. And then you go back to your original loop, but you just have to make sure you go out the way your leader came in.
Yep.
And then you slip it down tight, and it makes a very nice, thin little knot. And the only thing is, it matters more so with a spinning reel than a bait caster. You have to get some good cutters and cut as close to that knot as you can.
Yep.
If you have like a little bit of your fluoro leader sticking out, when you go to cast your spinning reel, it will catch.
Yeah.
But I got that figured out quickly, and that's my go-to.
Yeah, it's funny. I like, and here's the thing. This is not the skinniest knot for my leaders. I'm a double uni guy.
Okay.
I just think the idea of having a knot pulling against another knot, the physics make me think it is among the strongest. It's not the easiest to cast. So I don't run a single bait caster where I go braid to fluoro, but. And this is why I said, like, you know, if it's a one rod type situation, if I were okay, here's a good example. I'm looking at doing a BFS setup, right? I'm considering it. And primarily the reason is for the ability to bring and select a single rod for a wide variety of finesse fishing situations in creeks. That's primarily what I really want to use this thing for. And I'm considering doing braid to leader on that so that I have the option where I can put a leader on for something that, you know, where visibility might be a question. And I'm still on the fence too. I might spool that with mono. But the reason why I want that is because I want to be able to throw a topwater and not impair it at all, you know, by having fluoro try to sink on the front, especially with like smaller lighter stuff.
That's what I was about to tell you. With my leader, and again, this is not super expensive stuff, but I'm like, it's the best out there.
Yeah.
But it works for me. The Fluoro Clear, it's a copolymer, but it's fluorocarbon coated, so it will sink, but it's a slower sinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Line.
Exactly.
So I can run. I have to be a little more cautious when I'm running. Like a prop bait.
Yep.
Or something like I have to be a little more like making sure I'm keeping my rod tip up to a certain extent.
Exactly.
Or I don't slow down. Yep. But walking baits, popper baits.
Yep.
And again, like I can throw a jitterbug or a prop bait on there. I just got to pay attention to it. I have no issues with it. Like I caught so many fish on the cheap pop from NACO.
Yeah.
This week while I was gone, and it's just like it's so easy because like the line will sink, but it's not sinking. And like I don't know about you, but it's not like wintertime where I have to slow down. When it's hot or it's early morning or evening, like all I need is like a 4 to 5 second pause.
Yeah.
And I don't have enough line sinking then to make it where I can't pop continuously.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just really worked for me.
That's the whole thing. Like I would in that specific situation, like I would still stick to my fluoro leaders. But I would just, if I'm switching to topwater, I cut the leader off and then I tie a new leader on when I need to, you know. And that's like I said, that's like a single rod situation, trying to figure out what the best move is. The best move, it might be mono, you know. I mean, I'm not against that necessarily, but what I'm getting at is the knots, like for a bait casting rig, I don't like to reel that leader knot past the guides.
Oh, I hate it.
My leaders for a bait casting setup, when in the past when I have run braid to mono or braid to fluoro rather, I've only put like a 2-foot leader on. You know, it's generally
I should probably shorten up my bait cast leaders.
Yeah, I find that's where I have the most issues. I try to keep that knot from going down the first guide, if at all possible. You know, especially because I make the choice to throw with a double uni, and that fucker will get caught on that last guide 100% of the time, just because it's a fatter knot. And with some of the, especially on the bait casting stuff, I'm not using 8-pound leaders and like 10-pound braid or 6-pound leaders. I'm using like 14, 15-pound leaders on like 30-pound braid. Like stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's beefier on the bait caster. So that's just, I mean, I'm thinking out loud, and this is my listeners are probably like, what the fuck are you talking about, Bobby?
Well, see, that's why I was like, I mean, everybody's different though. So that's the thing. Like, I don't look at it that way because, like we talked about earlier, like so whatever works for you, man.
That's exactly
like,
it.
I run a 30-pound. Like I thought when I first started watching these YouTube guys, there's no expense to a lot of these. Like I call them gimmick creators because they're more about like, what are we doing this week instead of just like fishing. But like I watched a lot of these guys that were fishing 50, 60-pound braid on like everything they did. Like I thought that's what I needed to do.
Oh yeah.
I fished 30-pound braid on my bait casters with a 15-pound leader, and all of my spinning setups except for my ultralight, I run 20-pound braid with a 10 to 15-pound leader.
Yeah.
I mean with that 8 to 10-pound leader on 15 to 20-pound braid. That's what I meant to say. And that works great for me. And again, like I'm not going to say I don't break off on fish. We all break off on fish, but it's not a regular. It's not a point to where I'm like, I should probably look at changing up my line a little bit.
That's exactly it. Like there's a threshold where you're just like, maybe this is actually a problem.
Yeah. I was very upset this week, man. I lost 2 catfish. Like I said, I lost that one this morning, and it was a nice one. Like I was ready to lip him and take a nice picture and be like, yeah, I got a good one for the last day out here. And then I caught one, like first time ever catching a topwater catfish. It's like those videos you see of people out in the rivers in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
But I hit this pond and I was throwing the G-pop and was just working it on this bank.
Yeah.
And I had seen a blow up that I thought was a big bass. So I threw it over there, was working it down. It's like I paused for a second and then he hit it. And I was like, whoa, that's not a bass. I could just tell by the way he was fighting.
That's awesome.
And I got him up like just to where I could see it. And my line went, you should have changed me, and popped.
Man, that hurts. You should check out our multi-species tournaments. I think you'd get a kick out of them. If you like catching catfish.
I was thinking about that this morning. Yeah, I was actually listening to y'all on the Vinny episode talking about like anybody can get in. I was like, you know what? Like I can fish you around. Don't have to ice fish. And like I've had some luck in 27-degree water catching big bass with spinnerbait.
Yep.
Like I should probably do these little online things. That's fun.
Yeah, it's freaking bananas the way that these tournaments have played out. Like it's a lot of fun. Like the tournament guys love them because you catch bycatch while you're out pre-fishing or something. And this is, those fish can go towards something. You win a little bit of money. It's not a bad thing. I would highly suggest you check it out, dude. Especially like because you can fish from the bank, you can fish from any type of a vessel. Basically, any public body of water is up for grabs. And, the only real required piece of equipment is a Catch brand measuring board. That's it.
I got to get me one of those.
Yeah.
Send me the link when we get done with this. So
yeah, absolutely. Today's the last day to join the September one, but we're doing one in October. And
I'll sign up for the October one.
Sure. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. We're going to be dropping that, I think, on the 15th. That one will go live. So it'll be pretty cool. But yeah, we've been having a blast with it. Like if you like catching multi-species and you like just experimenting, I find that it gives my fishing a little bit more purpose. When I'm like right now, especially because we're early in the month, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I kind of need a trout. So I'm going to start choosing the bodies of water that I'm going to make sure that there are trout near there. And then as it gets a little bit tighter, I might start thinking about different bodies of water that specifically are the majority of fish that are caught there are trout. And if it gets really bad, I might start just looking at the state, schedule for stocking and do what I got to do. You know what I mean?
Yep. I just sent you 2 massive warmouth that I caught this morning. I'm pretty sure they're warmouth. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Those sunfish are, oh yeah, they might be. Or just giant ass bluegill. Dude, those are huge.
Yeah, dude.
Or you have very small feet. For
a second.
Wow.
But, sunfish kind of just go limp halfway through the reeling process. I've noticed, even warmouth, the only ones that don't are crappie. Like most sunfish, bluegill, you'll get them reeled in, they'll fight really hard for a second, and they kind of just play dead and just go dead weight.
Random question, and this is inappropriate, but what size shoe do you wear?
That is a 10. That's a Crocs. I think that's actually an 11.
That's an 11. That's a big ass sunfish. Yeah.
Bro, so the one by my foot, that's the first time in a while that I've caught a sunfish. That's my personal best warmouth. That's could be my personal best sunfish if that's what it is. But that's the first time I've caught one, where the truly big ones have like that hump right where their belly starts that comes down past their gill instead of just creating that perfect little shape. That's the first time I've caught one of those. there's an Instagram, there's a girl on Instagram. She farms, like works on a bluegill farm.
I've seen her.
Sarah Parvin.
Yeah.
Sarah the closer. I think she does real estate too. That's how her name's that way. But like, she works on one of those farms with those fat bluegill, like almost like the ones that Gary Yamamoto has at his farm.
Isn't her thing that she's trying to basically farm like a 5 pound, like specific? I don't know if it was like a red ear or
she's trying to breed like record, like not just like the size, but also the certain species.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I forget what this species is, but it's kind of amazing to see. That's awesome. I think
it's copper nose, ain't it?
Oh, it might be copper nose now that you mention it. That sounds about right. And yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Which I caught one not too long ago. They're pretty beautiful.
I don't know that we have those up here. But who knows?
Man, down here, you get on some of these ponds, especially some of these private farm ponds, and it's like Pops told me growing up, if there's a creek or something that flows to it, if the bluegill can get to it, they'll take it over.
Oh, yeah,
like sunfish or whatever, and you catch. There's these 2 nature preserves near my house, and not only is there like dinner plate size crappie, but there's like splab, bluegill, red ear sunfish, red breast, pumpkin seeds. Like it's just all of them. They're just all up in there.
It's crazy. It's such a good and hardy. You know what I mean? Like they're not the type of bait fish that you look at the wrong way and they just die. Like shad just die. You know what I mean?
Nah, these things are, man, they're like, I call them mini piranhas. There's the nature preserve I go to. If I'm going, like, you can go back on my page, and like people have given me crap all the time because like I post everything I catch because I love fishing and I don't love catching bigs. Like I love catching bigs, so get me wrong.
Sure.
But that's not what it's about for me. It's about like catching the fish.
Yep.
And if I can't get a bass to pick up on me sometimes, I'll throw on my ultralight and put on a 1/32 ounce ball jig.
Hell yeah.
And I can go tear up these little bluegill from the bank. Like I can watch them even when they're not bedding. Like I can just watch them from the bank and just be like, doot, doot, doot. And there we go. And I just caught 3 dinner plates in an hour. And I'm good. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it, dude. So we got 2 questions here, and this is like, well, why I say 1 question, it's like a 2-parter. We're looking for 2 things from you. First is like imagine you're at an event or something like that, or maybe you're at work and somebody says, oh yeah, you fish? What is that story that you're going to share with them? The story that you're like the most proud of on the water. It might be a PB, and it might just be something where like the shit hit the fan and it was memorable or something like that. Whatever it is, we want to know that story. And then on the flip side of that, we want to know the biggest type story, like where it all went to hell.
Yeah, just hearing you say that, like just thinking about that moment, because I know that moment and like I will forever like remember this moment. So we'll talk about the good one first. So there's this river in North Carolina that has kicked my butt for the longest time called the Broad River. I thought it was like unfishable, and you know those places you go to, and everybody does. I don't care. Mike Iaconelli's done it. There's no fish in here. That's how I felt about the Broad River.
Yeah,
and man, I got out there one day. I went to this small little town of Hot Springs, and I got to this opening, and I started wading up the river. I could actually get in and walk in it for the first time ever. And I just saw, like, you know, those rivers where you could just see the boulders sticking up all across the river.
Yep. Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, this is it. I was like, I got this bone white. Not a lot of people know about it. I think it's called the XB1 or the XB5. It's a coffin square bill from Excite Baits.
Yep.
I got it in a monster bass box, and it's this bone white color. And I tied it on, and I was like, man, I'm about to catch a smallmouth up in these rocks. Just watch. And first cast, I caught my, to this day, personal best smallmouth. If I had to guess, I'd say he was close to 3 pounds. It used to be my profile picture for the longest time until I changed it.
That's awesome.
But it was just, that set the tone for the day where I caught 5 smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
I caught a catfish on a rattle trap on the Yoziri one knocker. I caught a nice little catfish on that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I caught those 2 sauger. So it was just a good day. That will always be like this moment. This is like those days where you're like, this is why we do this.
Yep.
Because this feeling that I lost every bit of like a fish that was bigger than the first smallmouth that I caught that day at my waist, just because I was having so much fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, I done caught another big one. Oh, I'm excited. And then he just like came off, and I was like, oh, it's okay.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You know, one will pick you up from another. You know, that's how it is.
And then there's this day. My girlfriend is so supportive of me fishing, which, a lot of guys make jokes about, they have to, lie to their women about what they're doing, or there's jokes about it. Like, we'll be coming back from a wedding. She'll be like, "You want to pull over and stop?" And this is that one day we were heading through town. There's a spot in Spartanburg that I like. It's this old little bridge. You can't fish the dam. There's signs up. The warden will show up, but you can fish past the dam.
Yep.
So there's this bridge you go up underneath, and unlike a lot of bridges, this bridge actually has a really deep drop off right at the base of it.
Oh wow!
And I've caught some pretty nice bass right at the base of this bridge. And she was up at the car doing something, and I had this was on a reaction tackle shaky head.
Yep.
With a third eye fishing dojo worms. Third eye's trick worm was like thicker than a normal trick worm. It was pretty sharp.
Okay.
And I had it tied on, and I hooked. Man, it had to be a 3.5, 4 pound. I mean, it was a big one. And I got it hooked, and I'm hollering for her, trying to get her to run down. Baby, I got a good one. Next thing I know, like, you're mid excitement, you just feel that pop. And I just drop to my knees. And there's some fish you lose, and it's just, whatever. And there's some of them that you lose after having, like, a week of being skunked, and you think you finally got off the skunk train. And then it's just like Mother Nature decides to give you one more slap in the ass just to make sure you're getting beat.
Yep.
Ooh, man, that was a rough one.
Yeah, that is really tough.
She came down there, and I was just like, F, son of a F, mother, bop, bop, bop. She was like, what happened? I got aggressive and blamed it on her, and I was like, I was trying to get your attention, and you weren't paying. She was like, I couldn't hear you. And I was like, it's not your fault.
Exactly. You're like, what fuck? Oh man.
Yeah, that'll be the one. I mean, I have another story, man. It's not like a huge fish or anything, but it's really what got me wanting to bass fish.
Yeah.
It's like I went out with a buddy of mine and gave me one of his rods, and was like, you want to try it? And I didn't really catch anything, but I enjoyed it. So I went out to Walmart the next day. I bought a $10 Zebco spinning reel.
Yep.
And a couple of the the cream pre-rigged scoundrel worms with like the 2 hooks in them and a little propeller and some beads.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I was doing, so I took a split shot weight, like a real small, I think probably like a 1/16, and clipped it up ahead of it like 1.5 foot maybe.
Yeah.
And took that thing out and was running it down a bank at a local place, and probably caught like a little less than a pounder.
Okay.
On this little 96-cent lure and some cheap lead Gremlin split shots, and I was like, "This is fun."
Yeah, that's all it takes.
The adrenaline rush that hit me, and I was like, "This, like, I did this. Like, I didn't just throw a worm out there and wait. Like, I was working it. Like, I did that. This is what it's about.
That's
I need
amazing.
to figure out like how to do this more often."
That is, it's so funny too, because like, so you were running that kind of like a tiny little finesse Carolina rig, really.
Kind of, yeah.
You know, that's kind of nuts. And then it's wild. Like, you're right. When you catch a fish for the first time on an artificial where you were imparting the action on it, you were the one that was actually, finessing that bait in just the right way to get that fish to actually eat it. There's a different sense of accomplishment with that. I can remember like fishing, man, I think it was Strike King makes a plastic, this creature bait. I think it's called the Space Monkey or the Cosmic Monkey or something like that.
Yeah, the Space Monkey. I got a pack of them just sitting at the house. I haven't even opened yet. I need to check them out.
They're pretty slick. Like, they really are. They almost look like a tiny frog with like a little bit more exaggerated arch to the legs. And I used to just Texas rig those and drag them along the bottom. And I remember the first decent fish that I ever got on one of those. I was just like, holy shit. Like, this is actually, like, I can do this. Because it's funny, I never started out throwing Senkos. You know what I mean? Because most people, when they just start, especially if it's like later on in life, people say like, oh yeah, plastic worm, stick bait, you're good to go. And that's like the first thing that you'll throw. First things that I started throwing, like the first artificial I ever really threw was a square bill. And then I was throwing chatterbaits, not knowing anything. I was throwing them on spinning gear. It's all I had. It was an awful, awful combo. This old eagle claw, like 2-piece. It was just ridiculous. And it was nuts. And, you know, I would, you know, occasionally catch fish. And it was just pure luck. Like but slowly the pieces started to kind of come together of like, okay, this is where fish will group up, or I'm starting to learn a little bit more about this body of water. And I'll never forget on that plastic, the Texas rig Space Monkey. I was like, man, this thing is this is the jam. And for a long time, the Space Monkey is what I used as a trailer, you know, for my jigs. Because I had them around.
That actually sounds like a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it was a pretty good idea. It really was. And I mean, they kick like hell. Like they're definitely a good thing. I would use them on a heavy Ned rig too. You know,
they kind of look like that. What's that brand? Is it 10,000 Fish? Yeah, they got that thing. They're like a water dragon thing, the Zuchi bug.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. What the hell is the name of it? It's like a little Ned style bait.
No, not the Ned thing. That's the Tsukoshi bug.
That's what I was thinking
bug.
of.
It's got like a water dragon. It's got like wings, fins, and crawl like twin tail grub for legs. It's not exactly like the Space Monkey, but it's similar.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I haven't thrown one of those in a while.
Cool.
I know I've got a pack lying around.
Man, put your Space Monkey, just because like I said, I've seen them. I just haven't used it. I got a pack Alabama crawl cover sitting at the house.
Yeah, I should do that.
Put it on a shaky head. Get one of those reaction tap, a 1/4 ounce shaky heads.
Yep. Yeah.
And put one of those creature style baits. That's a trick that I've learned recently from another fishing podcast. That's one of the first ones I listened to. They just changed their name recently to Aggressively Average Anglers.
Oh yeah, I know those dudes.
Paul, I think it was Paul. One of them talks about fishing a creature bait on a shaky head instead of like a Carolina rig or a Texas rig, like a lot of people do.
Yep.
Fishing it on a shaky head, and like that's the move for me. That's like some of the only ways that I've gotten bit on a creature bait is throwing it on a shaky head. It's
funny, man, because like for a lot of people, that would be the way that they would choose to fish a Ned weedless, is to just use a shaky head. Because you can expose it with a creature bait, you know, or you could do it with a stick bait, cut it back a little bit, and they're like, you know, this is a handful of people that I've talked to are just like, yeah, you know, I like to do a weedless Ned, and I just use a shaky head of whatever variety of size. But I think it's funny, like I throw shaky heads, and I almost always throw a shaky head on a ribbon tail worm. Almost always.
Oh, especially if you get the right ones. And tail just stinks.
Some of them are. Yeah, some of them they work really, really well. That was for me. That was the primary focus when I got my first shaky head fish ever, which is actually not too far after I caught the first fish on a Texas rig plastic. I was like, wow, I'm on to something. I'm unstoppable. I'm gonna take over. I'm going to be the next Ike. And
that's why I feel like that ball head jig or that mushroom head jig that Reaction has, that EWG.
Oh, yeah.
I get theirs for that mushroom head, and then I'll get a pack from a company called Harmony Fishing because they have a ball head.
They have the ball head one.
Sometimes that ball you can get into some rockier spots with that and it doesn't get hung up. But that's a cheat code, man.
I like to think that I'm a little responsible for Reaction Tackle carrying an EWG Ned because for the longest time, because I was using the ones that they have that have the weed guards, and they're fine, they're all right, but I would tell them, I'm like, there are places that are making, I'm telling, and I had said to them, I'm like, if you guys make this in tungsten, game over. I'm like, and they did it. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I love those jigs. There's a part of me that wishes that the hooks were a little bit heavier duty. But it has yet to.
But every one of them is like that. There's not one on the market that I've tried so far. That's like the tech specs. Because when you get down to that size in tungsten, like you have to have a smaller size hook, or it's not going to fit right in the mold. That's what I've been told so far.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But yeah, I was blown away with it. I was like, that is something. But I love those Neds, the EWG ones. And there are some people who
it's a cheat code, man.
Yeah, they talk about, you know, you throw those and your hookup ratio goes down. You know, maybe. But you know what? You're not going to be hooking any fish if you're, hung up in a bunch of, weeds or, you're sticking a lay down, and you're breaking off. You're not hooking up at all there,
though. Our ratios do go down.
They
don't hook up as much with logs or rocks or stumps.
That's true.
Or trees or anything.
Yes.
I definitely catch more fish with them because, I'm spending less time retying or ordering more because I lost an entire pack in one outing. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I have standard. I've even learned a trick if the bait's like the right size with it, like, because I don't have any mushroom head, like regular jigs. I have ball head jigs that I'll use for a Ned.
Mm-hmm.
But I've figured out a way to like texpose my hooks, kind of like the standard shaky heads. Like I'll just thread a little bit of the hook through my plastic, turn it around, and just do it at a certain angle where I can just bend that hook in my plastic and still texpose. Because I'm not giving any more of my hooks to those sticks and rocks.
Absolutely.
I just can't make myself do it.
It ain't happening, man. I love it. So, Lance, this was awesome, dude. This is really, really great. Why don't you do me a favor? Let folks know where they can find you on social media if they want to follow up with you at all, anything like that. And also, with any companies that you're working with, feel free to shout them out, drop some promo codes, anything like that. This is your moment.
Oh, it's so easy. So all of my socials are at Lance Likes to Fish, all letters, no numbers or anything, except for on TikTok, it's Lance Likes to Fish 1 because I made one time and it messed up. Anyways,
gotcha.
So everything's Lance Likes to Fish, and with NACO and Reaction Tackle, my code is the same thing. It's Lance Likes to Fish. Makes it real easy. 15% discount for you if you check out. And it's reactiontackle.com, and then you can check out NACO and all their tungsten and terminal and tungsten base terminal at nacoshop.com. So that's it.
It's awesome, man. This is really great, dude. I'm glad we were able to have you on.
I had a blast. I really appreciate it. Conversation was great.
Awesome,
I expected it would be, and I'm really grateful for your time and opportunity.
This is awesome. Next time I'm down in your area, I'm going to hit you up. We're going to do some fishing.
Oh, we will do it.
Sounds good, my friend. You have yourself a good one, all right?
All right, you too. Thank you very much.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye. We are back. Welcome, everybody. That was a great interview. It is so nice to have guests back on this show. I'm very, very excited by this. This is a very, very good thing. The one thing I did want to talk about this week is that it dawned on me that, we're in September now. It's the 9th month of the year. We're closing in on the end of the year, really, only a few months out. It's a couple things that are going to be happening. Folks, Jigs and Bigs is going to be crossing the 100,000 play threshold. And that'll be happening in the next 30 to 60 days. If the trends that we've been seeing are any sort of indicator. So that's going to be happening. And for that, we 100% thank all of you. You are amazing listening to this show, telling your friends all about this stuff. In fact, I had a conversation with Steve over at Martin Custom Baits about all kinds of different things, actually. But it came up, we're going to be having him on. They're launching a brand new product, and it's a collaboration with a professional angler. We're going to actually have everybody on to talk all kinds of good stuff. But he actually had told me, he's like, dude, no shit. I've had like 30 or 40 people in the last 2 weeks mention Jigs and Bigs to me. And he goes, you guys have people listening that really fucking love your show. And I was like, they're amazing, aren't they? And delusional, because they seem to think we deliver something that's of value to them. And for that, again, we thank you guys. You're absolutely awesome. So I love the fact that you guys are listening. I have to thank Dark Horse Tackle for that too. Including our stickers in their box last month, I think was a huge, huge help in bumping up some listens. So that was freaking amazing. We appreciate that. But it dawned on me, like I said, we're getting toward this end of the year here, and I'm like, man, I have nothing planned for next year. Now, granted, my schedule got a little out of control this summer with events and all that other stuff, and I didn't really get out to all of the places that I was hoping to. Like, I didn't fish South Carolina because financially I just wasn't able to kind of make that work. I couldn't miss that week of work. So didn't get to do that one. I have Camp Hookset coming up this weekend, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be absolutely awesome. But I want to go back to Maine. I want to do some other stuff, and I want to go out to the Midwest this year. I'm thinking Wisconsin or Michigan. I'd love to take and do like there's some shit I got to figure out, and some of that is going to come in the form of like getting really comfortable with moving my rig into some of these interesting areas. So this past week, I did a little bit of research and I discovered something. Have you guys ever heard of something called the BDR? Have you ever heard of that? What that stands for is the Northeast Backcountry Discovery Route. And there's one in the Northeast. There's one in the Mid-Atlantic. There's a couple in the western parts of the country. There's a good amount of these all over. And they're basically, you can find these maps, and it mixes up dirt, gravel roads, trails in these areas and links this route that's suggested for you to go and kind of enjoy. And the NEBDR being the one that's closest, I figured I would take a good look at. Well, no shit. It goes right past some bodies of water that I've fished in the past. Like, it starts in upstate New York, kind of in the central part of the state, or out toward that general direction, makes its way through New York. It comes into Massachusetts, then dips down into Connecticut and does a tiny little U-turn. I do the same thing generally when I'm going to Connecticut. I get the fuck out usually as fast as I can. Is what I'm trying to do. So the route kind of does that. It dips down in Connecticut, says, oh, wait, hold on, we're lost. And it goes right up the shears. And it goes right up into the mountains and goes north into Vermont. And from what I've been told, the Vermont portion is the most challenging for a vehicle. I have been told by some folks, I've reached out to some folks in the overland community, specifically some content creators that have put some stuff together about the various BDRs around the country. And I got some info that basically if you have some ground clearance and a four-wheel drive vehicle that's got okay tires, you're fine. It's going to be all right. And there's bypasses in areas that are a little bit sketchy. So I did some conversating with Becca, and I said, have you ever looked into this? This could be a lot of fun. Like, this might be right up your alley. And she's like, that could be pretty awesome. And I said, I've been looking at the route, and it goes right past a bunch of great bodies of water to fish and interesting spots that have a lot of history behind them. So I'm like, the content potential is crazy. Now, like I said, the Vermont stuff is kind of nuts. Like I've looked at some of these videos, and like these are class 4 roads, which are generally unkept. Like they're not managed. They're not like they're not improved. Like if there's ruts, there's just ruts. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So some of these class 4 roads are kind of nuts. I'm going to go and give it a send and see how it goes. But the BDR does have like offshoots that you could take to bypass certain things, which is kind of interesting. Then it goes and it cuts across New Hampshire and goes into Maine, and it goes up all the way to basically the Canadian border. It's in total, it's about 1,500 miles. I think is somewhere between 1,300 and 1,500 miles, I want to say. And then I was speaking with this one content creator, and their channel, I'll give this a shout out because they're going to be on the podcast too, hopefully soon. They are known as, I want to say it's Logan Party of 4 Runner. You see what I did there? Logan Party of 4 Runner. So I had asked them about, their knowledge, and they actually had recommended, they're like, the mass one you can definitely handle, but they're like the one that's the easiest because they've done them all. They're like, it's the Mid-Atlantic Backcountry Discovery Route, which starts in Pennsylvania and ends in Tennessee. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. And I'm like, if that works out the way I'm kind of hoping it'll work out, then I'd love to make a trip. And where it dumps out in Tennessee is kind of like closer to the Smoky Mountains. And I mean, that's kind of a spot in Tennessee that I know that Mrs. Roast Beef wants to hit as well. So that could be very interesting. So that's on my radar. Travel for 2024 I'm looking at that, but I want to focus. I want to try to plan a trip to the Midwest. I really do. You know, obviously, maybe this show on in Columbus is going to allow me to make some connections to put something together that's closer in that area. But I would love if you guys have any suggestions. Shoot us a DM on spots that I should pay attention to in Michigan, Wisconsin. I mean, anything out in that area. That's what I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to put my kayak on the Great Lakes. I'll say that right now. I want to avoid that. If I'm going to do the Great Lakes, I'm going to go out with a guide, you know. But I'm not looking to drop my yak in there. I'm talking about places I can drag my kayak out and experience a different part of the country and just, you know, maybe sink a few days into one specific spot. I think that could be a lot of fun. You know, make grilled mortadella sandwiches by the campfire. That's what's happening at Hoodlum Fest or at Camp Hookset. There's going to be mortadella thrown around loosely.
And probably some jigglers.
Oh, there's definitely going to be some jigglers. The Dynavap is going to be glowing red all night. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm actually going to bring this bad boy too.
Yeah, you know, we forgot to mention my delivery method that...
Yeah, let's get back to weed.
Let's talk about bong hits. It's been a long time.
You haven't done bong hits in a while, have you?
No. Well, took a bong hit or two, and my God.
Yeah, it's magic, dude.
Forgot what that was like. I went right to bed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kills me. I will tell you, I know that this has been debunked that a lot of people are, but I'm an old school bong hit kind of guy. Dude, I like throwing a few like solid ice cubes in my bong. I do.
Have you ever put anything other than water in your bong?
No, always just water.
You haven't tried Kool-Aid?
No, Kool-Aid, really? No.
You got to wash it out when you're done.
I'm sure you
really
do.
Well.
Staying like, yeah.
Why don't you give Kool-Aid or Gatorade a shot? Just saying.
Really?
Yeah, just give that a whirl.
Huh. All right, I'll give it a shot. I mean, you know, that sounds like back in the day.
Back in the day when we were just smoking Mexican shit brickweed.
That sounds like it would be a much more like interesting thing. But now there's flavor notes of this industrially grown cannabis that you could never detect in that hot garbage that you used to, you know, smoke while listening to Naughty by Nature and, you know, in your buddy's dorm.
You fucking kidding me?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was a different animal back then, and it did not have the flavor profile. So I could see we're maybe changing that up. But I will tell you, I like a good cold bong hit. I'm just, it's just me. It's just me being old fashioned. So I will have my cooler stocked with some of the good ice, and I'm going to be popping that. I'm going to take this bad Larry down. You know. I'm going to assume that there's going to be some hoodlums that are not going to indulge. But I'm going to guess that there's going to be some that just fucking might. Maybe we'll have a real nice freaking interview because I'm going to be recording down there. Oh, maybe we'll have a nice interview with Ryan Nye, post Jigglers.
There you go. Ryan will be there?
I think so.
Oh, there you go.
I believe so. Yeah, could be pretty good. Oh, what do we got here? Chrissy Fishing chiming in here. She says, I played lacrosse in high school, but they don't let the chicks beat the hell out of each other like they do, like the guys do. Is Chrissy on some Jigglers? That seemed to come from out of nowhere.
No, because Biggest Nickus above that
Biggest
said,
Nickus.
I always hear about lacrosse, Wisconsin.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Chrissy's riffing on the lacrosse. We're good.
Gotcha.
We got you guys.
Yeah, I missed that. Lacrosse, Wisconsin. All right, I'll look around. We'll see what we got. We'll see what we can put together. I'd love to connect with somebody from the area to be a guest on the show. Just like what I did with Delirious in May. Same kind of idea. And it doesn't have to be in the spring. It could be later in the summer if that's what works better or works schedule wise. I'm open to it. So throw me some suggestions. I would love to get in on that. Couple of things you guys need to know about. I am working diligently for you this week to get some stuff together for our 200th episode. 200th episode is coming up. We're at 183 right now, and in January, we will be celebrating our 200th episode with an amazing game dinner happening in Chicopee. It's going to be Jigs and Bigs, the Chicopee Shit edition.
Yes.
True, real talk. Chicopee Chet, who knows if we're going to be able to dig him up and drag him out for this, but it should be
he's
exciting.
coming. He's coming.
He better. He better. Want to also give a shout out. Today I was on the water and I bumped into a past guest of the show, Alec Plotnikevich. You guys have seen his stuff on the Instagrams and the TikToks and everything. His stuff is fantastic. Bumped into his tournament partner that we all fished against, Adam. How you doing, Adam? Nice bumping into. We had a great conversation about water conditions and clarity. I will tell you guys, I could tell that they got a shit ton of rain, not just because of the water conditions today where I was, but a shit ton of rain last night because that water temp was at 72. 72, and then it rained again, so...
Yeah, and we talked about this. It's a little weird because I had water temps in the 80s up in Maine.
Dude, I had 80 and at Stockbridge.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
It's just absolutely banana sauce. I don't even know what to say. Yep. So I was excited by those lower water temps. I was just like, oh, maybe I'll get some trout on the board. And that's really why I was out where I was, because I'm like, yeah, deepest spot. Let's see if we can find some trout. And they nuked those weeds, and they did a good job this time because there are very few weeds happening anywhere. Guys, the weeds are a good thing. It'll clean that water up. It's a fucking good thing. It's nature. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this fucker up. Thank you guys for another amazing episode of Jigs and Bigs. Remember, if you would like to shoot us... Oh, what do you got, Joe?
Just waving. Just waving to the jig head.
I thought that was a
you were raising your hand like it was cool.
I'd like to say something.
I got to go to the bathroom.
That was me in the porta potty. Oh, God.
Well... We'll go ahead and we'll wrap this one up, guys. Again, we've been getting tagged all over the place with people catching fish and tagging us. I appreciate that. Keep it going. As always, if you could, throw us a review over on Apple Podcasts specifically. Leaving us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts really does kind of stoke the algorithm in our favor to kind of get some more exposure. We've been looking at we have an audience. We have a sizable audience that we're very impressed with, but we're not really hitting on some of the ease of discovery as we would like to. So if you guys could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that will help in that department quite a bit as far as getting us higher up in the rankings and people finding us a little bit easier. I'm talking about you listen to this, you might enjoy this. You enjoy the word fuck, you should listen to Jigs and Bigs. You know, that kind of thing. As always, have yourselves a great week, everybody. It's been a little bit wild. Hopefully, Camp Hookset doesn't turn into Hurricane Hookset. I'm hoping that it blows off soon. This next 7 days is probably going to be a bit cloudy for me as it's your boy's birthday week, and he has a tendency to celebrate mildly. But we've got lots of fun stuff lined up for you. We will see you guys in 7 days of more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Like we always say,
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.